I'm Ryan Baker. The Columbus Blue Jackets season came to a close with a fitting 2-1 loss to the Washington Capitals. Boone Jenner scored the first goal of the game early in the second, but Washington scored later in the period, then had one in the third for the win. Rick Bowness was not happy after the loss.
I don't know if I'm back, but if I'm back, I'm changing this culture. These guys, they don't care. Losing is not important enough to them. It doesn't bother them.
The Cincinnati Reds only had 3 hits, but 2 of those were solo home runs from Spencer Steer and Sal Stewart. They beat the San Francisco Giants 2-1. The Cleveland Guardians fell in extra innings to the St. Louis Cardinals 6-5. Jose Ramirez and Daniel Schneemann with home runs for Cleveland. This one sponsored by BMI Federal Credit Union, voted best credit union for the past 8 years in a row by CBUS Top Picks. Visit bmifcu.org to learn more. Breaking sports news as it happens on The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Your morning just got more interesting. Distilled and barrel-picked for your listening pleasure. Bo Bishop, a local sports media legend. What William T. Sherman was to the Union Army, he is to Northern College football. A husband, a father, and middling youth sports coach. He's friends with Central Ohio sporting royalty.
Talking to Ohio State Athletic Director Ross Bjorken. Coach Day walking on with us right now. Good to see you, buddy. Good buddy Austin Ward. My good buddy Tim May, the Tim May Show. The great Doug Lavery's joining us.
Hi, everybody. Dom Barry here.
Oh, Reese came in and he handed me papers.
Yeah,
and then he said, "You see that button? That's the only button you need to worry about. Don't touch. There's 8,000 buttons in front of me." Oh, I didn't know what he was talking about.
The one that says on.
We blew the budget on this imaging, and only 2 guys answered our ad on Craigslist. Ryan Baker and Eric Reeser. Act accordingly. You're now listening to Bishop and Friends.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for over 75 years.
All right, let's do it live on a First Friday Miracle edition of the program. Bo, the boys with you for the next 3. The great Joshua Perry with me today. The great Bake here as well. It is a Hey Guys First Friday. Get your questions in for JP and me and Bake. You can do so at 971BFS in the YouTube chat. We could take those live coming up at 11 o'clock. Jake Trotter going to join us at 10:30. Dalton Wasserman, formerly of PFF, now with the Preferred Walk-On College Football Show. He will join us at 11:30. Get your officially endorsed as well as the program goes along. Let's not bury the lead here. I think that the exchange last night, post-Jackets lost to Caps in a meaningless game, and quite honestly, they played like it was a meaningless game. Meaningless, I guess, unless you were a Caps fan and you were hoping, and there were a lot of them, you were hoping that Alex Ovechkin to get one more and end up at 9:30 in the Capitals win what kind of felt like it was going to be his last game. But all of the hockey world is talking about what happened afterwards between Rick Bowness in his press conference. The questioning, to the surprise, not of me, certainly was come from our great buddy Aaron Portzline. Let's have a listen.
Rick, you've been a part of a lot of games and a lot of seasons. Have you ever been part of something that's as frustrating as this has been down the stretch?
No. And all you got to just look at the stat sheet. 3 hits, 23 giveaways. Like, I don't know if I'm back, but if I'm back, I'm changing this culture. These guys, they don't care. Losing is not important enough to them. It doesn't bother them. Like, how can you go out and play like that? Should have done this about a month ago. But this is why we are where we are. This is why we're out of the playoffs. That kind of effort. Losing, you have to hate losing. I don't care if it's a meaningless game. I don't care. Show up and compete. 3 hits, 23 giveaways. What else you want to know?
You reached them for so long after you got here. How did it stop? Where did it stop?
Because it got tough. Because it got hard. Like we talked about after the Olympic break. It's going to get harder. So everything's good as long as it's going their way. And now it gets tough, we don't want to battle back. And that's what's happened over the last a couple weeks. That's all that's happened. We're going to change that. If I'm back, I don't know if I'm back. Don and I will talk. We'll get to that. But man, oh man, some of those guys are so lucky the season's over and there's no practice tomorrow. Anyways, there's no more games. What else you want to know?
I think even in the long history of this franchise, I don't think they've ever lost 6 games in a row to end a season at home.
No.
Is that worse?
It's terrible. Inexcusable. If they're not embarrassed by, not only tonight, by that, they're on the wrong team. They are. They got to be embarrassed with that. Anything else?
What else do you want to know? Here's what I would say on that. And before we get into where does it land, does it work? Obviously, it lands pretty well with the fan base, right? Because you're all exasperated, too, because you're like, how long we got to deal with this? But before we get into all of that, I think a great deal of credit, and what you just heard right there and what you saw last night is an example of why it is so critical to have beat writers or people who cover a beat. I don't know if that exchange happens without Aaron Portzline being in the middle of it. He's there every day. There's a familiarity with him. He's at every practice, every game. He's at every road trip. He knows the players. He knows the coaches. There's a familiarity. You just came out of an incredibly emotional, and you were there last night, Bake, an incredibly emotional, probably post-game conversation with that team. You walk into a press room, you see Porty, you know him, you've had a million conversations with him, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're just two friends venting a little bit. And that's how that happens. So full credit to the Athletic, and there are more beat writers out there too. I think Porty's the best you're ever going to find, but that happens because of that. That's why that is such a critical position in terms of what was said. That's kind of the way I read it too. This was an incredibly emotional guy who was exasperated by what happened in the last 2 weeks. Probably can't believe what happened in the last 2 weeks, cannot believe some of the results along the way, and is now staring down a team that is sitting on the outside looking in. Was he here from the beginning? No, he was not. You got the bonus bump as soon as he was hired. 3 weeks ago, they were one of the best teams in all of the NHL, and then it all fell apart. Porty asked the question, when did you stop reaching him? When did it stop working? He said, I probably should have done this a month ago. Who knows? You can revisit all of those things. But to me, that was an exasperated hockey guy venting to somebody that he knows well at the end of what has been a disastrous 2 weeks of hockey. That's kind of my read on it.
And you're right about Porty. I think he's the best, and I think he kind of relished that last night. Like when he got Bones' first answer, I feel like Porty lit up, and he was like, all right, because there were things Porty had been wanting to ask. Yeah. Then maybe he hasn't. Bo, you were right yesterday probably in the fact that maybe everybody is too soft on the Blue Jackets in their coverage. And what Don Waddell said, or what Rick Bowness said last night, was spot on. And that's why AR yesterday, when he was talking about this team and saying you can't take the past into it, you just got to look at it each season. And that's kind of what I've been doing this year. I've just kind of been looking at it as this season. Mm-hmm. And there are some facts about this season that are true. With 97 points to get into the playoffs, the most a team's ever had to not get in was 97. And there's all kinds of things about this Blue Jackets season that are true, that sound like excuses or reasons, but there is something deeper here with this organization. And Bo, you talk about it all the time. They are first class.
Yeah, they
do everything over there perfect, but perfect can't be in a locker room, and perfect can't be in a physical sport. You have got to have some edge, and I've talked about this all the time about having someone drag you into the fight. And I've always said the player the Blue Jackets have been missing is Brad Marchand. Sure. Because you need a top-line player that is an a-hole. Mm-hmm. And it can't be Matthew Olivier, and I love Matthew Olivier. And it can't be, in the past, the Jared Bowles and the Derek Dorsets and the Jody Shelleys and guys like that. It has got to be somebody that your team looks to, that when the chips are down, they are going to pull you into the mud and through the mud. And my problem with last night, and Bowness said it, is where was this 3 weeks ago when it still mattered? And I feel like he was close, and I feel like it's tough when you're playing well to see things and call things out, but that's what you get paid to do, is do that. And he said, man, these guys are lucky they don't have practice tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Well, it should have been said when they did have practice tomorrow.
So to your point about him getting close, I can't remember what game it was, but he was basically like, we got some guys that are in, and we've got some other guys that they're just not giving enough, and I need to see more out of them. And to your point, I wish he would have done it too. But it was interesting listening to the commentary because he kept couching everything with, well, I don't know if I'm going to be here. I don't know what my future is here. And the reality of the situation is he walked into that locker room as a renter for this season. And we all know this. When you're renting an apartment, there are certain things you don't like, but you're not changing out countertops. You're not blowing out walls because you leave. No. You leave, and that's somebody else's mess to fix when you're gone. And I think the reality for him is, what can I do this? Can I go in there and can I have this speech with these guys in the middle of a push to make the playoffs, knowing that I might not be back anyway, and this could blow up the locker room. Now, if he's going to be around and he's got the back half of a season to do it and an off season to get it right and the next year to get these guys to buy in, it becomes a little bit of a different thing when you're coaching. But walking in there and knowing that my days might be numbered because there's no guarantee of a future here. I just don't know if he felt like he could do that while they were making the push for the playoffs without knowing that he would have to pick up the pieces and he wouldn't be there to do it.
It's a great point on the renting versus buying. To me, last night felt like he's willing to buy, is what it felt like to me. Feels like that was something that, and again, I think some of it was just familiarity with Porty and all of that. I really believe that was a decent part of it. I think the other part of it, though, is, to me, that sounded like a guy who wanted to be part of the solution. Now, the question will be, will he be allowed to be a part of the solution? Does he really want to when he gets 24 hours, 48 hours of separation? It's a man in his 70s. Does he want to take something like this on at this point in his career? Don Waddell was on with T-Bone and Tyvus and said that he'd like to have him back if it's up to him. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what he said.
Do you want it?
Do you have it?
I got it right here.
I tell you what, we'll play it on the other side of this quick timeout. This is spreading like wildfire a little bit, too. I actually did some out-of-market stuff about a half hour, 45 minutes ago, and it was one of the things I was on there to talk Buckeyes in the draft, and all of a sudden we ended up talking about this a little bit. So lots to unpack with this one. We'll continue to do so coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
The sound of Paul Keels calling a Buckeye game is erotic.
Oh, yes.
Your home of the Buckeyes, The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Tired of snoring? Sleep Better Columbus can help with a custom mouthpiece that opens your airway and stops the snoring. No mask, no noise. Call 1-800-MORE-SLEEP or visit sleepbettercolumbus.com today. Stop snoring, sleep better, live better.
Working your way through that home projects list, that means more flushes, more showers, more fiddling with the thermostat. Trust the pros at the Waterworks with your plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling needs. Our certified pros can repair or replace your air conditioner or furnace. Clogs? Call the Waterworks. Drain issues? Call the Waterworks. Plumbing problems? Call the Waterworks. HVAC breakdowns? Call the Waterworks. The Waterworks. Trusted and certified plumbing, drain, heating, and cooling experts.
Matty Ice here. Do you need a vehicle that has room for the whole family? Then check out the 26 Chevrolet Traverse at McDaniel GM Superstore in Marion. This month, lease a brand new 26 Traverse for as low as $379 a month for 39 months for $3,998. Due at signing for qualified buyers. Terms and conditions apply. See dealer for details. Deal ends April 30th, so don't wait. Visit McDaniel GM Superstore, located off 23095 in Marion, or online at McDanielGMSuperstore.com. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
Family owned and operated. It isn't all sunshine and rainbows. This is Dennis Sullivan, president of Care Heating and Cooling. Here's something you don't hear admitted very often. When you run a business with your family, you don't always get along with them. We argue, we debate, we have real conversations about the decisions that we make. But at Care, every conversation comes back to our priorities, doing right by our employees and our customers. Because when you treat your team like family, they take better care of the families they serve. And when you treat your customers the way you'd want your own family treated, trust follows. That mindset doesn't always maximize short-term profits, but it builds something better, long-term relationships. Today, more and more local companies are being bought by venture capital firms, where maximizing profits often leads to a sales-first mentality. Care is still family-owned and locally operated, so we can keep people, not profits, at the center of every decision. Care Heating and Cooling. Call 1-800-COOLING when you need a company you can trust.
Newman Roofing, as part of their 2026 Commitment to Community initiative, is proud to partner with 10TV and The Fan to relaunch Raise the Roof, honoring local heroes going above and beyond. We are calling on you to help us recognize the volunteers, educators, first responders, and everyday difference makers who are making a meaningful impact in your community to be recognized on 10TV and The Fan. Send in your nominations and stories to 10tv.com/raisetheroof. 10tv.com/raisetheroof. Nominate a local hero today and help us raise the roof for those who make a difference.
Join the Fan weeknights at 6 for the Buckeye Show. And if you're asking if it's just a bunch of homers rooting for all things Ohio State, yes, it is. Proud to be your flagship home of the Buckeyes, the Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Hey, it's T-Bone again. Sleep apnea doesn't have to rule your nights. Sleep Better Columbus has been treating snoring and sleep apnea for over 15 years with proven results and now has an office open in Marysville. Call 1-800-MORE-SLEEP or go to sleepbettercolumbus.com. Stop snoring, sleep better, live better.
Sometimes, tough times are a test, a chance to prove ourselves. Colleen O'Donnell proved her grit in Laredo, Texas, when she served as an immigration judge and faced the worst of the worst: human smugglers, gang members, dangerous people. Colleen ordered them to be deported, never granted asylum once, and enforced the law to the letter. Now, Ohio needs tough leadership on the bench, so Colleen O'Donnell's running for Ohio Supreme Court as a constitutional conservative with 10 years of prior judicial experience. Ohio Right to Life PAC endorses Colleen for her devotion to our conservative values. America's toughest immigration sheriff, Richard Jones, endorses Colleen O'Donnell for her dedication to public safety. And the Ohio leaders we trust support Colleen O'Donnell for her unwavering loyalty to the rule of law and the Ohio State Constitution. The grit to lead, the experience to succeed. Colleen O'Donnell for Ohio Supreme Court.
Paid for by O'Donnell for Ohio.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Partly sunny skies for us today with highs in the mid-80s and breezy winds. And then as we head into the evening, we'll see chances of showers and storms develop, some which could be on the stronger side. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with lows in the 60s. We will see storms and even showers possible the second half of your Thursday. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with highs around 80 degrees. For the Fan, I'm meteorologist Meredith Garfalo with the 10 Weather Impact Forecast.
If you haven't thought about Buckeye football today, I'm sorry to tell you that you're dead. Our condolences. Your home of the Buckeyes, the Fan. When General Sherman marched through Georgia, he was listening to this show.
Use your skills for good, young warrior.
This is Bishop and Friends.
I'll be very candid with you guys. I wasn't going to spend a whole lot of time on the Blue Jackets today. I think we kind of did it. We did it yesterday, and it was kind of like, okay, season is lost. You know, by their own words, a failure, right? They said it. If we don't make the postseason, it's a failure. Okay, so it's a failure. Failed season. So that's it. So that, you know, what more was there to say? And then you get this epic post-game commentary from Rick Bowness in the exchange with Aaron Portzline of The Athletic, great friend of the program. And so this thing is really making the way around the country. It was in hockey circles last night, in hockey circles this morning. I actually did an out-of-market hit in D.C. this morning at 8:20 with one of the stations there. And the reason they had me on is because all of the Buckeyes apparently were there playing Topgolf yesterday, and so that's why they were all there, to be able to be drafted by the Washington football team at the 7th pick of the draft. And at the end of it, they asked me about Bowness, and they asked me about this rant and kind of how it got there. And I said, well, 6 playoff appearances in 25 years. The crowning achievement is an 8 versus 1, and they're kind of giggling in the background because they're like, well, that must suck. And you're right. You're right, fellas. It does. It's not a whole lot of fun. Bowness said in that exchange with Porty, one of the things that he said was, if I'm back, I got to get with Don and got to find out. Well, we're lucky enough here in that we have Don Waddell on in the morning quite a bit. And so the fellas asked him about it. Here was what Don had to say.
Yeah, from my end, obviously I will meet with my boss and people above me once I have that conversation with Rick. But from my end as the general manager, watching the work that he put into this and how he got this team going, I support it 100%.
That's pretty emphatic. Who would, and I'll bet you might have a better handle on this, and certainly than I, and probably JP too. Who does Don Waddell answer to other than ownership?
Mike Priest, maybe. Mike Priest, I think, is still like the president over there. Okay. But I do think the younger McConnell, and I believe it's a John too, John P., I believe. He has here in the past couple of years started to get more and more involved in the day-to-day operations of the Blue Jackets. So I also don't know, and he's the general manager. I don't know how much they want Rick Nash and maybe even Chris Clark involved in this as well.
That's a lot of voices, JP.
Yeah, it's
maybe not the best.
No, not at all. I'll say this though, is I think this is a really tough spot to be in as an ownership group and a general manager because of Rick's age. That's the thing that stands out, because if you're trying to do a reset on culture, that is not an off-season project. That to me is not a one-season-long project. That takes multiple years to get to the level of where he would probably want it to be based off of how he sounded in that post-game commentary there. Do you have that type of runway? Because at a certain point, you're thinking about, okay, we get things reset. Does he want to get back on the boat? And now do you have to try to find somebody you can hand that off to in a place where you feel good about it? So that's my biggest question here is I think I'd like to see him back as well. But if we're looking at culture reset and, frankly, 25 years of doing things a certain way and maybe a certain level of apathy that you see toward the end of the year, can you get that done and you still got some runway with him to coach the team that has the culture that he wants?
He's 71. 71 can be young, it can be old.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know his health. I don't know, what the energy level is. We had him here for 2 months, and we saw him from afar and liked what we saw, and certainly seemed like he had plenty of energy for it. Last night did not sound like a man who felt like he was ready to be put out to pasture at all. So this is what he does. He's a hockey coach. You know, if he's in good health, there's a reason he couldn't be here 4 or 5 years if he wanted to be, and they could go along with it. I think the question that the organization is going to have to ask is, what do they want the Columbus Blue Jackets to be? And did what he say last night get you closer to that? I completely reject any notion that getting to the playoffs in the NHL is hard. Half the teams make it, so stop. Don't give me that crap. I don't want to hear about how hard it is. Half the teams make it. Stop it. What is hard is build, and this part I do believe, and I don't think that this is nonsense. I do think it's hard to build a perennial Stanley Cup team here, because they've had a bunch of people who have tried with varying degrees of success, and the best we could get is to be the 8. That's the best we could do. So there's a problem in player retention. There's a problem in player free agency. Here there's a problem in drafting and development that doesn't land the plane for reasons that I can't understand. It certainly feels at times that they're cursed. So all of those things some of those are nonsense. I mean, the curse thing, for God's sakes, Dom and I took a witch doctor down there once to try to uncurse them. So, I mean, that was 15 years ago. So that I don't really buy into. But there is a disconnect when it comes to drafting and development. And unfortunately, if you're in a market like this, that's the only way. That's the only way, is to draft them and develop them. You are not signing them in free agency. You are not doing those things. You got to draft them. You got to develop them. You got to make them want to be here. You got to make them be part of the culture. And that's what you have to do here. And that part is tough. And I do think that makes this job a little tougher than some.
It's tough, but I don't think it's impossible. Like
it's not.
There are plenty of other places where it's more difficult than some other organizations to get free agents to want to come. Like I know a lot of these guys, they want to be in the big metro. They want to be somewhere where the weather is nice, and a lot of them prefer to have a lower tax rate, right? Like these are all considerations, but there are teams outside of areas like that have found success.
Who would be the one? Go ahead, Vic.
I was just going to say, I think you're kind of right, Bo, and I don't know if you can change culture. I think you can teach culture to, like Reese's comment, he'll say, teach him how to dog. I think if somebody has the right stuff in them, I think you can teach culture. But when I look back at the Blue Jackets and I look at their most successful run there through the Torts years, and no doubt Torts was a big part of that, because he had, he would have hard conversations with those guys. He told Foligno, I don't think you're a captain. Mm-hmm. And they went at it about that, and it made Foligno better. But Foligno, I believe, had that in him already. But Foligno was a guy you brought in through a trade. Brandon Dubinsky, who was a big part of that, a guy you brought in through a trade. Scott Hartnell, who was a huge part of that I think we all forget about quite a bit. He was brought in via a trade. So to me, if you're changing the culture, that means there's a lot of people that are going to be going bye-bye and a lot of people that are going to be coming in. And that's going to be on the plate of Don Waddell to make those trades and find those people and make the right deals to bring them in, because I don't think you're teaching this group culture. I think you can teach Adam Fantilli culture. I think Z's got the culture in him, but somebody's got to be at the top of that and leading that.
Yeah, I think the two guys you just mentioned, I mean, those are the guys. If this is going to flip, it's got to be on them. Like, it's probably time to put a C on Zach and be done with it, and that's probably what's necessary at this point. And then, I guess here's the other thing. This is quite honestly $1 billion question. Can you teach culture amidst losing?
Oof.
How do you do that?
Things are a lot easier when you're winning, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. I mean, you walk into Colorado. I mean, just stay in the NHL world. It'd be easy, low-hanging fruit to just do the Buckeye thing, right? Like, it's pretty easy to talk about brotherhood and culture and all that stuff at Ohio State football because you win 10 out of 11 games every year for 100 years. That's pretty easy. How do you teach culture when you don't win? How do you create it? How do you build it? How do you have accountability when you don't win? I think that's a $1 billion question. I don't know how you do it.
Let me say two things on that, though. Colorado wasn't winning with the beginning of Nathan McKinnon. I mean, he came in there and they added some pieces, and Nathan McKinnon had that in him. He had that drive, and they went from there. The other thing I will say, and this is not me trying to be all optimistic with the Blue Jackets, they still won more than they lost this year. It's not like they're the Pascal Vincent Blue Jackets.
No.
So it's not like you're at the bottom, at the dregs of the NHL. You're right in the middle of the NHL, so I think you can still teach it there because it's not like you're getting your brains beat in all the time.
Which honestly might be worse.
Could be.
Yeah. The pushback to that is when Bones said things got hard and they went into the shell, that might be the most difficult thing to try to correct. Mm-hmm. Like when things are going well and you're playing well and you're front running, like everybody can do that. But when you hit that bit of adversity and the clock starts running out on you and you just say, screw it, like I'm going to pack it in, that is a difficult type of mentality to flip.
It is. Yeah, it very much is. And yes, they did win more than they lost. And yes, I suppose ideally you judge a team on one season, not on the mistakes of a father, right? I mean, theoretically. But this is 6 straight years of no postseason. Yeah. It's 6-25 that you've gotten in, and at your best. Look at Bake. You were talking about you're talking about Hartsey, and you're talking about Dubinsky, and all of those things. The best any of that group ever achieved is the 8 seed. I mean, that's our Super Bowl.
That I don't believe that's true.
All of that. That's it. That's all they were. They were the 8 seed. They beat Tampa Bay once. That's it.
Yeah, but that same group we're talking about with Todd Richards, I believe was the 5th seed or the 3rd seed in the Metro and played Pittsburgh in 2014. I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look the year they lost to the Capitals in the first round.
Look what you're doing.
I know. I get what you're saying.
You're not a contender in any way. So they were the 8 or they were the 7 or whatever the NHL configuration was at the time when they were doing it. You were never a contender. Never. Not for a division, not for anything. And so that's the part that becomes a little bit hard. And if when you're trying to teach winning in that falls on individuals, that falls on coaches, that falls on players. And maybe you have the players here or not. Obviously, a lot to unpack with this stuff. We'll continue. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
I'm Leslie from Pella Columbus.
And I'm Wilson from that other window place.
Wilson, what are we wearing?
Lie detectors. Anytime a lie is detected, we get a little shock.
All right, let's try them. So, Pella was rated by homeowners as the leading window brand here in Columbus.
Nothing? Okay. Well, our windows can change the look of your home. This thing sometimes shocks you when you tell the truth. Ouch. It's okay. I'm having fun.
Get the windows that can change the look and feel of your home at PellaColumbus.com.
This is Gordon Miller from Miller Lending, the original home of the no-cost mortgage. Back in 1989, when I first went on the radio to introduce this whole no closing cost concept, where you could actually close on your mortgage without the lender taking $15,000, I had no idea if I had created the next pet rock fad of the day or something that would define my career over the course of the next 37 years. But once mortgage rates fell from 9 down to 6, our business exploded and I never looked back. You see, a no-cost loan is the only consumer-friendly mortgage where the homeowner actually holds all the cards. Short funds to close, eliminate thousands of dollars in closing costs. Rates are now down almost 2% from the peak, but you're holding off due to the cost of a refi? Not anymore. So let's start you down that path of eliminating closing costs once and for all and keep that money where it belongs, with you. 877-9-NO-COST. That's 877-9-NO-COST. Or simply apply online at nocostmortgage.com. Miller Lending is an equal housing lender, NMLS number 250-2146.
Do you suffer from leg pain, leg swelling, varicose veins, or leg ulcers? Dr. Joseph Senta and Dr. Barry Zeta at Ohio Vein and Vascular are pioneers in the vein and vascular field. They can perform minimally invasive procedures that will get you back on track to a pain-free life. Stop living with leg pain and start the process to healthy living with a free Healthy Leg Screening. 3 locations to serve you at Polaris, Reynoldsburg, and now open downtown. Go to loveyourveins.com or call 614-426-VEIN. That's 614-426-VEIN or loveyourveins.com.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for almost 80 years. The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
What's up? What's up, man? What's up with you?
All right, these are the... And this is where I think this bonus thing is going to get to here. You play to win the game. Herm Edwards, 2002. Remember that one? Started 2-5 with the Jets when he delivered that speech. I'm a man, I'm 40. That's Mike Gundy in 2007. I use it all the time. That was in regard to a quarterback who he's defending against a newspaper columnist who, in his view, wrote some things that were unflattering about the kid. They are who we thought they were. That's Denny Green after the Arizona Cardinals lost to the Bears. Jim Moore, you remember this one? Playoffs. That was after the Colts lost, and a reporter asked him a question. There's some player ones, too. We talking about practice with Allen Iverson. Richard Sherman, I'm the best corner in the game. We certainly remember that one against Michael Crabtree. You go way back. AR will love this one. Johnny McEnroe. You cannot be serious. That was to the chair umpire at Wimbledon. Mike Singletary had a great one where he said, can't do it, can't have it, can't win with him, about Vernon Davis after a penalty when he was the coach of the San Francisco 49ers. This is an old one. JP, you weren't even born yet. Hal McRae was then the manager of the Royals.
Oh, wow.
This is old school. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. After a profanity-laced tirade with the Royals manager and a reporter in his office. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. I didn't know that originated from him. I think the bonus one is going to have that type of legs.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
They're all so great. They are all so great. And they all come from an ultimate point of frustration. If they had another game, how would this land if you're in that room, JP?
Well, I think it depends on what kind of player you are. Because there are guys who are super defensive. They blame, they complain, they defend bad behavior, and that doesn't land with those kind of guys. If you're a real dude and you're a competitor and you get that out of your coach, probably a hard look in the mirror. Probably this is the reason you do it, is to get guys to look and like, are we committed? Are we doing all the things that we need to do? Is this what our standard is as an organization? So if there was a game left, I think you'd have to take inventory of your locker room. I think it's the reason why Bones didn't do this earlier. He said he wanted to do it.
It's fair.
But I think it's the reason he didn't do it, because he probably looked around and said, I'm not sure these guys are going to respond super well.
Bake,
but what's the worst that happens if you do that?
You blow up a locker room and a roster, and then you just walk out the door?
Okay. And that's fine, because you're in the exact same position you are today.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, though.
I don't get that. And I mean...
Like you were pushing for the playoffs, though.
What's the point?
And then you blow it up.
What's the point if you get in the playoffs and you still got to blow it up? Because these decisions that Don Waddell are about to make, these decisions, they've been based on the past month.
Sure,
it's not just because of right now because they missed the playoffs. I think if they got in the playoffs, Don Waddell's doing the exact same thing this offseason, regardless.
I think it's risk mitigation on the playoff push, though.
I think you're right. I think that last night came from the point. Again, I think Porty was a big part of it. The familiarity, I think that was a big part of it. I think the other part of it, though, was it came from a point of nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. And up until losing to the Bruins on Sunday, I mean, even then, the Flyers had to lose Monday. Last night was the first game they played where there was truly nothing at stake. Nothing. And I do wonder, when he says I should have said it a month ago, if you say it a month ago, do you even get to that point, or does it go away? So I think both of you guys can be right on this thing in the sense of, why didn't he do this before? He kind of did. What was the post game? He kind of, that there were some folks who weren't given effort. That was about 10 days ago, Bake. You remember that one?
So he had one after a Carolina game where he said players should shut up.
One. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, they should just shut, they play harder and shut up.
Yep. Right. So he was leaning this way, and my hunch is he probably said what he said yesterday publicly. He probably said that behind closed doors a couple of times. Because usually when it manifests publicly, it's been said in the room a lot. And when was the extra long post game? That was
their players only meeting. It was right before the Detroit game because they won the Detroit game.
No. This was post game, Bake. And remember, it took forever for them to come out?
Yeah, that was their players-only meeting that they had.
Okay, but it was after the game?
It was whatever game was right before Detroit. It was that
was the one. Okay.
Here's one more thing with the frustration on Bowness last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't sit here and tell you I was looking at the bench all last night.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see any emotion over there on the bench from the coach or the coaching staff. I didn't see anybody yelling in the middle of the game when there was only 3 hits. And I got to tell you, it seemed like a gentleman's agreement last night between both teams to, hey, let's just get out of here with no injuries. Let's just, this was like 7-on-7 last night.
It felt like an Alex Ovechkin retirement party is what it felt like.
And he didn't even hardly play the first 2 periods. He doubled his minutes in the third.
They tried getting him a goal at the end there in case it was, his final game. Bake, you asked me a question, and one of the big topics of conversation on the show, on the station here yesterday, and we brought it up on our show, was have we all been too easy on them? And AR pushed back a little bit, and obviously Afternoon talked about it as well. Go ahead.
So do we treat the Blue Jackets the way we do because Columbus has always been an underdog city and nobody thinks Columbus is a major city, and this is our proof to the world that it's a major city because we have a major 4 sports team? Is it because we just don't have any more brain capacity to put all of our sports fandom into something outside of Ohio State football? Or is it because the media has been trained a little bit that if you say anything bad about Ohio State, there'll be some backlash?
I think it's all of that.
Agree.
So I've said this, I've told this story before. One of the most stupefying things, Joshua, when I moved to town, and Bake's heard me talk about this before, one of the most stupefying things when I moved to town, and this is a big city, right? So that from a market standpoint, when I go from Tallahassee to Columbus, that's a more than double market size. Tallahassee was like 107 in those days, and Columbus was like 28, 31, something like that. So this was a massive, major move for me at that time in my career when I went from Tallahassee to Columbus. When I first got here, and I got to Ohio State football season, and I saw Andrea Camburn and Jerry Revish, who were our main anchors at Channel 10 at that time, and I would see Andrea on a Buckeye Football Friday dressed in scarlet and gray with Buckeye necklaces, and I'd see Jerry in a scarlet and gray tie. And I thought, what is this? What the hell is this? Because I was in Tallahassee. I was in a smaller market, and that is a company town. That is a Florida State town. Now, Florida A&M's there as well. Mm-hmm. But we were told, you don't root for the Seminoles.
Yeah.
Like, you can't wear garnet and gold. You cover the team. Hell, I would talk to Bobby Bowden once a week, and I couldn't wear garnet and gold while talking about Florida State on television because we had to be unbiased. I moved here, and it was like, whoa, everybody's a fan.
Yes.
And it's even gotten more so where and we all become part of it, right? We all do. We all root for them to do well and all of this. So I think that's a huge part of it is we are kind of conditioned to root for our local teams as media. Now there will be people and that's the other problem, and that's why I wanted to give Porty so much credit off the top. There aren't many guys left out there that are in the business of holding feet to the fire of the teams they cover. There aren't, because the business has changed so much. And it's not good business to do that really anymore. And so I do think that that's a big part of it. The other thing you mentioned, the inferiority complex, I don't know that that's there anymore. It could be some of it. I think the other thing, and I mentioned this yesterday on the show, guys, I think a lot of it is this team came at the right time. This franchise paratrooped in here 25 years ago as the city was just set to explode.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there are tens of thousands of you out there who are diehards, who watch every game and live and die by it and know the game and love it. I think there are hundreds of thousands of you out there who jump on a bandwagon when it's fun and it's something to do on a Tuesday and Thursday in a cold January, February day. I think that there's a lot of that. And so I think because of that, I think that's why they get a pass kind of on all of it. I do. I think all of those factors matter.
Can I ask a question here? Do you think that there is fear for some people of being so critical that you might lose the team? You might push them to explore.
No, I don't think
selling, moving, things of that nature.
No. I don't think so. I think the market's too good. I mean, that's the other part of it. And that goes to the fan point I made yesterday, JP, and that there's 20,000 people in there no matter what.
Yeah, and they've had sellouts this whole stretch down here, even when they were playing bad. Bo, I just want to reiterate one thing that I said earlier. And I don't know if I've ever said this on air before, but being a Blue Jackets fan like I have for so long and watching this so closely, I remember way back when Derek Brassard first came up. Mm-hmm. Derek Brassard played with a little edge to him, and he got in a fight defending a teammate. Yeah. And in that fight, he dislocated his shoulder. And they said, no more fighting, dude. Can't have you playing like that. Yeah. He was never the same player again. They took his edge away a little bit. And Steve Mason, Rookie of the Year, the only one ever in the Blue Jackets franchise, he would call out teammates after games, in post-game scrums. They told Steve Mason to knock that off. Mm-hmm. They didn't like that. It took away his edge, and he was never the same player again. They do everything perfectly, but sometimes in a team, things aren't perfect. There has to be conflict. There has to be edginess, especially in a physical sport. JP, nice guys can't play football on the field. They can be nice off the field, but on the field and in that team setting, they can't be nice. You got to be a little edgy. And they do everything perfect.
You know what I always say? You need guys who steal for fun or steal for necessity on your team. You gotta have somebody who's got that, screw loose up there if you're going to be in a physical sport.
Yeah. And I think the next question would be, do they have them on this roster? And that's part of a much bigger conversation. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
We have so many local shows, I can't fit them in a 10-second promo. So let's just say we're live and local all damn day. The Fan.
With all that can go wrong at your home, it's enough to make you want to say, oh, brother. With Brothers Roofing and Construction, one call covers it all. Roofing, siding, rotting decks, we cover it all. So visit us online at brothersroofingconstruction.com.
Common Man here for Weed Man. I talk to you about Weed Man every year. Why? Simple. Number one, I use it. Number two, it works. You want to get those lawn roots thick, baby, because when that happens, they resist weeds, disease, and insects, and they're using top-of-the-line stuff. We're talking golf course quality. Weed Man is locally owned and operated by Corbin and Audrey. They will take care of you. Proudly serving Central Ohio and our Dayton friends. Call your local office, 614-733-3747, weedman.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. A question I get all the time is, how did we become the largest injury firm in the world? We have over 1,000 lawyers in all 50 states and close to 6,000 coworkers. Our call center is on duty 24/7. You can reach us at any time at forthepeople.com. But the real reason is we won a lot. When you visit our website, go to our verdicts and settlements. There you will see what our clients were offered and what they were awarded at trial. All those verdicts help us resolve many cases fairly and early. You see, nothing beats reputation. The insurance industry knows who we are. We even have insurance adjusters call us for representation because they know too. We've made it easy. On your mobile device or computer, go to forthepeople.com and we will get busy. It's that easy. Call today. Morgan & Morgan, for the people. Injured? Dial pound law.
Morgan & Morgan, Ohio office located at 600 Vine Street, Cincinnati. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.
With the first pick of my favorite places in Columbus, I choose Hollywood Casino Columbus. The draft is coming up. 4 in the top 10. Oh, man, is this draft going to be fun. So much fun, we need to throw a party. Scotty Vegas here, and come to the sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Columbus on Thursday, April 23rd for the draft. We're going to have contests, prizes, and best bets. See you at 7 on Thursday, April 23rd. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Fall is the season of change, and Hinderer Motor Company is turning over a new leaf with big savings. This is Justin Hinderer. Right now, any one of our participating locations is paying up to $3,500 over Kelley Blue Book value. That's right. Drive in your current vehicle and leaf with one of ours today. Don't wait. The leaves are falling and so are the prices. At Hinderer Motor Company, we love what moves you.
Rothman and Ice.
I can't watch horror movies, but there was something about the Saw movies.
What movies?
What did I say? Horror. Too soon. Horror. Thank you.
Rothman and Ice. Weekdays at noon.
Sponsored by Pella Columbus.
The Fan.
The new Omaha Steak Store is now open at 1033 Polaris Parkway at Polaris Commons. Stop in today and save 50% store-wide on legendary steaks, burgers, and more. Plus, get doorbuster deals starting at just $19.99. Discover the Omaha Steaks difference today at the new store at Polaris Commons in Columbus.
Hey Central Ohio, it's Andrew from Home Team Solutions, and yes, we buy houses for cash the easy way. We've been buying houses for over 20 years and we've seen it all. Whether you've inherited a property, you're behind on payments, the house needs work, or just want to avoid the hassle of listing, we've got you covered. No repairs, no clean out, no stress, just a fair cash offer and you pick the closing date. We've helped hundreds of homeowners sell fast and hassle-free, and we're proud to have 5-star reviews all across Central Ohio and an A+ rating with the BBB. If you're ready to sell your house the easy way, call Home Team Solutions at 614-962-SELL. That's 614-962-7355, or visit us online at selltohometeam.com. Home Team Solutions, local, trusted, and family-owned. Again, that's 614-962-SELL. 614-962-7355 or selltohometeam.com.
The Fan Guest Hotline is sponsored by Ohio Heating and Bryant. Doing whatever it takes to keep you and your home comfortable. The Fan.
With friends like these, who needs former college football players? This is Bishop and Friends.
So that's a question, like, can you teach culture amidst losing? Skeleton Crew 96 with this on social. Culture's taught in winning. Culture is made evident and tested in a loss. Culture equals integrity. Who are you when no one is looking? Also, the Jackets don't hate losing. Everyone wants to win. They need to hate to lose. That is, I mean, I've seen that go around. There's a clip from a show called Shoresy or something, a Canadian show where a guy that kind of goes around in hockey circles of a guy saying they got to hate to lose, all of that. The other thing, and I was just saying this, Joshua, to Bake in the break, like, the other part of it is just, is the talent there to match that? And when you do draft the talent, can you keep it? Can you develop it? Can you turn it into something great? I think one of the most difficult things, one of the real failures of this season, I don't know how it happened. I mean, Jody would know, or somebody who follows it every report, would know, like, what the hell happened to Kent Johnson? How does that happen? That's the 5th pick in the draft. How do you go from scoring 25-plus goals a year ago to being healthy scratched by 2 different coaches? How does Igor Chinnikov go from, I want a new contract, now I'm going to be traded, and now he's got 18 goals in Pittsburgh? Like, he's a first-round pick. How do those things happen? Why do those things happen here? Those are the things that I'm curious about. Did we miss on him? And I'm not Bob McKenzie. I'm not going to pretend I am. I'm not looking for all of the little things that are failures and wins and successes. I don't know hockey that way. I'm not going to pretend that I do. That'd be disingenuous. So why do those things happen here?
So, and Bo, I'm going to add to your point here, and I know part of this was injury, but Dmitry Voronkov didn't hardly play the last 30 games, and this is a guy who's 5th in your team in scoring still, and he didn't hardly play at all the last 30 games. And he's a guy that had 20 goals last year, 17 this year, and hadn't played in a long time. I think part of this is in the process of wanting to play defensively, you are getting these guys to think too much and question themselves when they're not maybe necessarily the most defensive-minded player. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense, and I think that's why you draft a Kent Johnson, because he has supreme skill. Now, the one thing I will say about Kent Johnson is maybe his want for the puck and to be that offensive playmaker isn't always there like it was with an Artemi Panarin. I talked with someone about this last night. Artemi Panarin may not have technically been the most sound defensive player ever, but the one thing I never questioned when Artemi Panarin was on the ice, that he wanted the puck, and he was going to do whatever he could to get it back, whether that was in the system of the defense or not. He was going to hound that puck like crazy. And it's one of the things I love about Kirill Marchenko is he seems to have that too, even though he struggled down the stretch here, is I don't think there's any doubt Kirill Marchenko always wants the puck and always wants to score.
Sure.
And score goals. So maybe you don't have that fire from Kent Johnson or Dmitry Voronkov, but in trying to compensate for that, I feel like you're trying to get them to do things that maybe they're not good at, and it makes them question themselves. And then they play slow, and then you're in trouble.
That's a drafting issue to me, though. If you you don't take a player and then they have you mentioned the level of skill that he has, and maybe you got to develop into him that desire to have the puck. But you don't take a player like that and then ask him to do things that are outside of his skill set and think he's going to be successful, right? And this goes to everything that you guys were talking about in terms of guys flaming out. Like, part of it is a player evaluation drafting issue. Part of it is a development issue. But to me, you can't have a guy and it's like he does all these things well. We're going to ask him to do something a little bit different that takes him out of his game.
And, Bo, we talked about this last year. Maybe this is just a regime change, because these are players that Jarmo Kekalainen drafted and brought to this organization. And we talked about this last year, and I told you I felt this Blue Jackets team was built to win games 6-5, not 2-1. And maybe it was just a different philosophy from 2 years ago and another GM to a new regime now.
Well, that's a little bit of a different conversation, too, with regime changes and coaching changes and instability in that regard, too. There's no way to build an organization when you've got different voices in the front of the room and different guys drafting every so often.
You at least have to draft to a type.
Yeah.
So if you have different GMs, different coaches, you have to say, this is what Blue Jackets hockey is. This is what Cleveland Browns football is. This is what think about this from the Baltimore Ravens perspective. All they've done is won since they got to Baltimore. And they've won in a million different ways. They've won with a defense-heavy team in the early 2000s. That was one of the greatest defenses of all time. They've won with Trent Dilfer at quarterback. They've won with Joe Flacco at quarterback. They've won with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. But they had one constant at the top of that organization. It was Ozzie Newsome. And you can have different coaches, different quarterbacks, different styles of play, but they drafted to a type. And look at the winning that's followed.
Yep.
There is something to that. To have one voice at the top that's there consistently, that there is a belief in you do it this way and we will win. I know my type and I'm going to draft to him and you're going to coach him. I got news for you. They're going to win with Minter.
Yeah.
They'll win. They'll win. They'll have a great draft. They'll do all of those things because that's what they do. That's what the winning organizations do. This isn't just a hockey conversation. This is a sports team building conversation. And the ones that are the best at it, the ones that consistently win, I'm not necessarily saying win 6 Super Bowls. Not everybody gets Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Not everybody lucks into Tom Brady. How's Bill Belichick when he doesn't have Brady? Right? So you can't do that necessarily. But in terms of the teams that are always in the mix, there's an identity. And I don't know what this identity is. I know that people want it to be blue collar, tough, all of those things, or certain people who talk about them want them to be, but maybe that's not what they are. And maybe that's not what they've drafted to be. And so that's how you get to what you had last night. So I'll tell you this. I didn't have it on my bingo card. We do an hour on the Blue Jackets today. Did not have that on the bingo card.
Thank you, Rick Bowness.
Rick Bowness and Aaron Portsline, we thank you for that. I mean, there's a lot to it, and it's an interesting thing whether you're a diehard Jackets fan or not, because it's about our city, it's about team building, and it's about way that we talk about the teams in our town. We'll do a little higher, lower coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
All the Ohio State conversation you can handle. The Buckeye Show.
Weeknights at 6.
Your Ohio State flagship station. The Fan.
Hey, it's Bobby Carpenter. At Germain Toyota of Columbus, it's all about you, your drive, your style, and your budget. Stop in and see Marcello. He'll get you rolling. Germain Toyota of Columbus on the corner of I-70 and Bryce Road. Or check them out online at germaintoyota.net.
Coffee, sandwich, hash browns. Tired of the same breakfast routine? Time to refresh your morning ritual with the $6 Tim's Trio from Tim Hortons. It starts with a premium blend of freshly brewed coffee, a hot, savory breakfast sandwich made with freshly cracked eggs, and for a tasty twist, a daily baked donut to sweeten the deal. Ask for the $6 Tim's Trio. Your morning ritual refreshed. Only at your neighborhood Tim Hortons. At participating U.S. restaurants, must ask for offer. Medium coffee only. Terms apply.
Hey folks, it's Jeremy Birmingham Berm here from the Austin and Berm Show on 97.1 The Fan. After hitting maintenance with Awaken 180, I kind of thought that was the whole deal. All right, cool. Don't be an idiot now. Don't gain it back. Stay under 200 pounds. That was the win. But then maintenance did something I really didn't expect. I lost another 5 pounds for free. I'm now down 40 pounds, further under 200, and that's the part about Awaken 180 that still cracks me up a little bit. Because people hear maintenance and think it means barely hanging on, eating celery in the dark and trying not to blow it. That's not this. I'm eating pizza. I can have ice cream. I'm living like a normal person. The difference is I'm not fighting myself all day, or if I'm wondering what one weekend away from the plan could ruin the whole thing. Awaken 180 just didn't help me lose the weight. It taught me how to live in a way where I'm not headed right back to where I started. The last 5 pounds in free maintenance, that tells you everything. Awaken180weightloss.com. Go there now and give it a chance and see how it can help you take control of your life and your health the way it did for me. Awaken180weightloss.com.
Call the folks at Buckeye, night or day.
The rain is coming soon. How can I prepare? My sump pump's getting really old and floods are not that rare.
You're right to think ahead before you're out of luck. I'll check it out with expert care for $37. Client satisfaction guaranteed. Call 614-683-9911. Call the folks at Buckeye, night or day.
Hop into savings this spring with Ohio Mulch. For a limited time, save $100 on home delivery at OhioMulch.com. What sets Ohio Mulch apart? Premium pine bark mulch made from southern pine, long-lasting and perfect for hydrangeas and azaleas. Better mulch, better results. Ohio Mulch.
Tax time is here, folks. That refund's burning a hole in your pocket, or maybe you're just ready for something bigger, tougher, more you. Well, listen up. Capital Ford's got what you need. Get 0% APR financing for up to 60 months on select models. Plus, qualified buyers can defer payments for up to 90 days. Capital Ford has options for everyone. Great rates, flexible terms, and approval power to put you behind the wheel fast. No perfect credit needed. So what are you waiting for? Visit CapitalFordColumbus.com today. See dealer for details. Not all buyers qualify.
Hey, it's Anthony. By now you know my good feet story. But the point I try to get across is that it's an ongoing one for me. For as long as I can remember, it's always been about my lower back. But when I got fitted for my personal arch supports, it's been an absolute game changer. I feel better. They take all the stress off my back. I feel supported and aligned, and you don't hear me complain about it the way I used to. I could feel the difference instantly, and I didn't have to wait to feel that difference. Once I got fitted, popped them in my shoes, took the test walk around the store, and now on a daily basis, everything feels better. And that's what I mean about an ongoing story. This journey to feeling more comfortable makes everything better. You can make an appointment online or just stop into the Good Feet store in Grove City or the one on Polaris Parkway in Westerville, and their experts will personally fit you. Then do what I did. Take a test walk around, and you will feel the difference. Do your feet a favor. Get started at goodfeet.com.
When you saw your heating bills this winter, did you think this is out of control? The problem is your house is leaking money, and the only thing higher than your heating bills are your cooling bills. Steve here from USA Insulation. Let us fix your energy bill problem for good. If you aren't foam insulated, you really aren't insulated. For $99 a month, interest-free, we'll foam your home and help cut those energy bills. 529-2440 or USAinsulation.net.
USA Insulation.
Spring cleaning isn't just for your house, it's for your life. If your job is getting old, it's time to clear the clutter and spring into IT. Go to My Computer Career.
My Computer Career helped me get the skills and certifications I needed to start a new life as an IT professional in months, not years.
Earn the certifications the top employers are looking for right now. Visit mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation to see if it's time to spring into IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Broadcasting live from the McDaniel GM Superstore Studios, driving excellence since 1916. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. WBNS HD1 Columbus.
Good morning, I'm Ryan Baker. What a bummer to end that season. The Columbus Blue Jackets, they lose 2-1 to the Washington Capitals last night. Boone Jenner scored a goal, the first one in the game. In the second, Washington, though, answered in that second period. Then they scored one in the third to get that win. Alex Ovechkin had 4 shots on goal and an assist in what might have been his final NHL game. The Cincinnati Reds only had 3 hits. It didn't matter, though, because 2 of those were home runs from Spencer Steer and South Stewart. They beat the San Francisco Giants 2-1. Brady Singer pitched 6 innings for the win. The Cleveland Guardians fell in extras to the St. Louis Cardinals 6-5. Jose Ramirez and Daniel Schneemann with home runs for Cleveland. The Columbus Clippers lose to the Iowa Cubs 8-1. This one's sponsored by the Waterworks and Header Plumbing, Drain, Heating, and Cooling, together to serve you better. Scheduled today at thewaterworks.com. Breaking sports news as it happens on The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Taking the art of sports radio and day drinking to a whole new level. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
Second hour here on a First Friday. Time to get your Hey Guys questions in. We will get to those in about an hour from now. Joshua Perry and Faris Bakes here. I see that the Washington Commanders unveiled a new uniform.
Oh.
And I would tell you that I think they may have crushed it. Even brought the spear back.
Uh-oh. Is it better than the throwbacks last year?
Well, that's basically their home. So they just have the W on the helmet that they use, but they basically have, so it's the Redskins uniform without the logo on the hat, and then they have a black helmet with a spear through the W that's pretty dang clean. That's a good job out of them. Those are beauts, man. Good job, boys. Well done. Well done. Love to see it. All right, time for a little higher or lower. Hit it, babe.
Bishop and Friends present Higher or Lower.
All right, it is NFL draft season, so it got me thinking about some of the biggest draft busts ever. And we got this list from Sports Lunatics. Let me get the right page up here. And it has the 15 legendary misfires in NFL draft history. At number 1, they have Ryan Leaf going number 2 to the San Diego Chargers in 1998. Number 2, Jamarcus Russell going 1 to the Raiders in 2007. Higher or lower, gents, for Jamarcus Russell?
He's higher.
Yes.
He's higher. He's the biggest bust. He was the number 1 pick in the draft. Leaf went 2. He went behind Peyton Manning. So Russell is the bigger bust than Leaf, just by the fact, if they're tied, whatever. But the reality, if they say they both were tremendous busts, okay, fine. One guy was picked number 1 overall. The other one was picked number 2. So Russell has to be the biggest bust. The greatest story on Russell that goes through NFL circles is they asked him to look at his playbook, and they didn't put anything in it to see if he would actually read it. It was blank. And he came in the next day, and they said, well, what'd you think? And he gave all of these answers about what he thought of the playbook, and the reality was the playbook was empty.
It's amazing. It's to me, that's the reason why, is the sheer laziness of his approach to football. Whereas Leaf had some other things going on, some demons he was battling. Like, you get into all of that, but like just showing up as a number 1 overall pick and just being so lazy, like didn't even try. Biggest bust, easily.
A buddy of mine was really good friends with Ryan, and I played some all-star stuff with him growing up in Montana, some basketball stuff, some tournament stuff after my junior year. He was a year older than me. And we went out to watch Washington State against Arizona. I want to say it was Arizona, in Pullman. And we went out, night on the town, all the things. And, you know, Leaf was the same Leaf. Like, he was a punk. He's not anymore. He's grown. He's a different human now. But he was a punk. He was one of those guys, I always tell people, he was really fun to be in his orbit. But if you weren't in his orbit, my God, what a jerk he must have been. I mean, just a complete jerk. But to those who were in his orbit, it was great. But I'll never forget, we woke up the next morning at an apartment near campus. We woke up the next morning. He was on the phone and he was wearing a Danny Werfel game-worn jersey. Like they would switch jerseys, like they'd swap them around. So he had a Werfel game-worn jersey on, and he was on the phone with Peyton Manning. And let me just tell you this. My hunch is Peyton Manning's Saturday night was a lot different than Ryan Leaf's. And if anyone would have called me, because one of Jim Rome's probably coldest takes ever was that he liked Leaf more than Manning, and I'll never forget it because I knew Ryan well, and I remember thinking, like, if you are questioning between these two, you need to reevaluate your questioning.
Bo, back to the Jamarcus Russell. I bet Brian Drew would have told him that the playbook was empty and given him their $100 back. So
You're probably true.
At number 3, Tony Mandrich in 1989 with the Green Bay Packers. Number 4, Charles Rogers, drafted by the Lions in 2003. And number 5, Trent Richardson. Was number 5, I believe, Bo? Did they take him number 5?
Seemed like it.
In 2012. Higher or lower for Trent Richardson?
Let me just do the, you want to have a little fun with Tony Mandrich? I'm going to give you you guys ready for this? These are the 3 players drafted immediately after Tony Mandrich in the 1989
this
NFL
is brutal.
Draft. So Troy Aikman goes number 1 to Dallas. Number 2 is Tony Mandrich to Green Bay. Number 3 is Barry Sanders to the Detroit Lions. Number 4 is Derek Thomas to the Kansas City Chiefs. And number 5 is Deion Sanders to the Atlanta Falcons. 4 of the first 5 picks in the 1989 NFL Draft were Gold Jacket Hall of Famers on the first ballot, and the other one is Tony Mandrich.
So you're saying Tony Mandrich is Darko Milicic?
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Oh, my. Oh, my. Like, you could have picked any of those other 3, and you get a Hall of Famer. Like, that's crazy. So the Richardson one, this is the one I was probably as wrong as I've been about anything. I did not see any scenario. And I was doing the show with AR at the time, and when they drafted him, I thought, well, at worst, he's an Adrian Peterson type. Maybe not 100% of Adrian Peterson, but he's 80-90% of Adrian Peterson. At worst of that. Give them credit for this. They got out of this, and I'm pretty sure they got a first-round pick from Indy in exchange. Now, I don't know what they did. I think they did. I think they got a first-round pick from Indy. Here was the thing with Trent Richardson. He could not read blocks. There are all these videos of him when he was with the Browns where there would be a hole and he couldn't see it. So at Bama, he just got downhill and nobody caught him. But he couldn't see the field at all, and that was his undoing. This is probably a sweet spot for him. Charles Rogers was second overall, right? I'm pretty sure he was. So, and he had all sorts of off-field stuff that was tough. But no, I think Trent, this might be a little high because there's probably quarterbacks who were picked, second or lower that really never did anything. So it might be a little high for Trent and that he wasn't, a first or second pick in the draft. But yeah, absolutely, he should be on this list.
I agree. I'm with you. It felt super can't miss. Like everybody was like, this is very obvious. And then he just ended up not being a player. They did get a first-round pick back when they traded him to Indy that turned into Johnny Manziel.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh.
Yep.
That's tough.
It ain't great.
Yeah, so that pick, Cleveland ended up trading to the Philadelphia Eagles that year in 2014. Richardson, by the way, was the number 3 pick in the draft. So they
traded third overall. So he was then. Yeah, this is worthy.
Yeah, they traded him for a first rounder in the 2014 draft that Cleveland then traded to Philadelphia, which obviously then ended up being Johnny Manziel.
Johnny, yeah. Wow.
Back to the list. Number 6, Art Schlichter.
Jeez.
In 82 to the Baltimore Colts. Number 7, Akili Smith. Number 8, Trey Lance. Number 9, Tim Couch. Higher or lower for any of those 4 quarterbacks?
I take great exception to Tim Couch, who's 9 on this list, and David Carr, who's 10 on this list. You have to remember, these are expansion teams where they needed to draft a face of the franchise. And this was unlike the Vegas Knights situation, Golden Knights, where the NHL gave them a ready-made roster. These were garbage teams that had expansion draft rosters with no ability to protect. And in both the instances of Tim Couch and David Carr were bombed in terms of the amount of hits that they took and the beating that they took early in their careers. I can't put either one of those guys on this list because of that. Because that is just The situations they were in was so atypical for what a quarterback would be. If Tim Couch were drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, does it turn out different? My hunch is it probably does. Instead, he goes 1 overall to the Browns, and it's an expansion team, and he just gets absolutely battered. I think the one on this list that is interesting is kind of a get-out-of-jail-free card is Trey Lance.
Yes.
Because they gave up a ton to get him, and because they stumble into Brock Purdy with the last pick in the draft, nobody talks about it. But that's a fireable offense, that draft, what they gave up to get him, and the fact that he didn't pan out. If they don't land Purdy, is John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan still there?
Probably not. And I'll say not only what they gave up, but the idea that they drafted an FCS quarterback that pretty much only played 1 year in college. Like, that to me was just the complete blunder from an organizational standpoint. Like, I don't know how they ever felt, and all the analysts too, ever felt that confident that it was just going to be a surefire thing with him. By the way, would never draft a quarterback that's got a hairline like his, but that's a completely different thing for a different day. But I almost feel bad that he's on a list like that because, like, in hindsight, it's pretty obvious that it was a big risk to draft him that high in the first place.
He only played the 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah. At North Dakota State.
Yes.
I mean, that's...
Trey Lance needs to talk to our guy Tyvis about getting that fixed. Bo, you already mentioned David Carr at 10. Here's the rest of the list. Andre Ware at 11. Vernon Golston at 12. Matt Leinart, 13. Johnny Manziel, 14. Robert Griffin III at 15. Your thoughts on any of those?
You know, how many of these were... First of all, I'll take some exception to RG3 here, too, on this list because he gets hurt.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was sensational as a rookie and then got hurt. And, the injuries... So, like, I don't know if I can define that, in that way as a bust. The Johnny one, the Browns should have known. They should have known. There was a piece... I want to say Wright Thompson wrote it for ESPN, the magazine, where he followed Manziel after his redshirt freshman year when he won the Heisman at Texas A&M. And there are accounts of his behavior on a golf course with his family. And all you had to do was read that and know that there was nothing that was ever going to click with this guy.
Felt like we should have known.
I mean, it was all there, guys, with Manziel.
I think Vernon Golston should probably be a little higher on this list. That's pretty bad. One sack for the sixth pick in the draft.
He was sixth. Well, he can thank Jake Long for that. He had 3 sacks against Jake Long in the Ohio State-Michigan game, and it was like, well, hold on. If somebody can get 3 sacks on Jake Long, because nobody did that. And that was that Ohio State-Michigan game, and that elevated Vern to the place that he was. Andre Ware's probably shouldn't be on this list either. I want to say he was like the 11th pick. There's others who have been worse. And then how many of these were picked because it was like ownership needed a face of a franchise?
Feels like there's some of that going on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Get a former Heisman Trophy winner, that kind of deal. I see it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that in there too. All right, coming up next, there are going to be a lot of Buckeyes drafted. Daniel Jeremiah with some high praise on this group coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
A lot has changed in 30 years, but we're still that old shoe that feels worn in and well-loved. And, well, we smell a little, but whew, you've accepted that. The Fan.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Now is the time to call Comer & Cross and transform your garage with a gleaming new Comer & Cross garage floor. Maybe your garage floor has exposed concrete with stains and cracks or a bad epoxy or paint job. Well, a new Comer & Cross garage floor will transform your entire garage in just one day. Now, here's the great part of this whole story. If you call them right now, they're going to take 50% off installation. Yeah, that's right, 50% off installation from Comer & Cross when you call them today at 1-800-NEW-FLOOR. A Comer & Cross garage floor is the gold standard, guaranteed to never chip, crack, or show tire lift like epoxy or paint ever. Plus, they make it easy. They'll take your stuff out of the garage for you. They'll fix your cracks and pits perfectly like it's a new garage floor, and then they'll apply the proprietary finish that you pick. Yeah, I said it. They'll fix your cracks and pits. What's wrong with that? That's what you want. So call them today at 1-800-NEW-FLOOR to get 50% off installation. That's 1-800-NEW-FLOOR. Or go to comercross.com.
Care Heating and Cooling. When you need a company you can trust, call 1-800-COOLING.
Spring
Spring is here, and there's no better place to make memories than the Columbus Zoo. See tigers up close, watch playful otters, and see the baby elephants in action. For a limited time, take advantage of our Zoo After 2 p.m. deal. Plan your adventure at columbuszoo.org.
It's never a bad time to fire up the grill. At Billiards Plus, the grilling season never ends. While you're grill shopping, you'll love browsing Central Ohio's largest selection of pool tables, game furniture, and shuffleboard. Family owned and operated. Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking, he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
Hey, Mom, now that I have an after-school job, I think I want to buy a drum kit.
Okay, Rockstar. Let's look at your account.
When kids start making money, Chase has easy-to-use tools and expert bankers to help them learn how to manage it.
And next month, I'll buy the bass drum and the cymbals. Oh, and maybe some noise-canceling headphones for you.
Aw, you've thought of everything.
Help kids save, budget, and build financial independence, all with Chase. That's good for kids and good for parents. Visit your local Chase branch and get started.
Account subject to approval. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Ryan Day's Buckeyes are ready. And so are we, damn it. Join Anthony Rothman, Dave Biddle, and Tim May for the Pelotonia Spring Game Tailgate Show.
Presented by Key Bank.
Broadcasting live from Fan Fest, Saturday morning at 10 on The Fan.
I take care of the kids, my dad, things at work, but I haven't made time to take care of what I need.
Millions of caregivers experience symptoms of anxiety and depression. Go to mentalhealthcareworks.org to learn how to get the support you deserve. A message from the American Psychiatric Association Foundation.
Hey folks, it's game day and the betting's gonna be intense, Drew.
You said it, Dave, but a good pregame routine keeps betting responsible.
That's right, you gotta pause before you play.
Good call. Sports betting is hot, but it can be risky.
And pausing to set limits is an all-star move.
That's right, Dave. If you bet on sports, pause before you play to set limits, recognize the risk, and know when to stop.
Learn more at pausebeforeyouplay.org.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is fast for cash. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, apartment buildings, commercial properties. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Give us a call today for an all-cash offer at 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Partly sunny skies for us today with highs in the mid-80s and breezy winds. And then as we head into the evening, we'll see chances of showers and storms develop, some which could be on the stronger side. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with lows in the 60s. We will see storms and even showers possible the second half of your Thursday. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with highs around 80 degrees. For the Fan, I'm meteorologist Meredith Garfalo with the 10 Weather Impact Forecast.
1, 2, 3. Here in The Fan is always football o'clock. Proud to be your home of the Buckeyes, Browns, and all the NFL games you can handle. The Fan. Distilled sports discussion served in light beer quantities. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
Indeed you are. We're proudly brought to you and sponsored by our great friends at Diamond Cellar, your true jeweler for nearly 8 decades. NFL Draft a week from tomorrow. Buckeyes could be 4 of them in the top 10. Daniel Jeremiah, who does this for a living, was on Joel Klatt's show talking about the Buckeye dominance in the NFL. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. I mean, the only thing I can compare it to is just the Miami run that they were on in the early 2000s. That was like it was a period of just almost every year we were seeing 4, first round guys and then running that depth all the way through. But it's not only, Joel, that they've had dudes. Like, this is another year where they've got guys, and you mentioned the 4 top 10 players, but these guys are having success at the NFL level, too. It's not like, this is some overhyped group or a program that's living off their reputation. Like, these guys are getting drafted high, and rightfully so. They're playing really well at the next level.
4 in the top 10. There's a lot of ways to go with this. I'm curious, both of your answers to this. If you are an NFL, because this was a question I was asked today on radio in D.C., because they would think they're getting one of these guys. If you're a franchise that is position agnostic when it comes to the draft, how would you rate these 4 Buckeyes, 1 through 4?
It's a toughie.
It is.
I think Sonny is the best combination of can play today and you feel like he's going to be pretty impactful plus upside. So I'd put him 1. I would say Caleb 2 because I think he's the best player. Arvell, I would say 3 because of upside, period. And then Carnell, who is a phenomenal player, but it feels like he's going to walk in and be who he is. And, like, I don't know what the upside necessarily is, but, like, he's going to be a productive player. That's probably how I would rank him.
So I think Caleb is number 1. I think he's bust-proof. Mm-hmm. I think Sonny's number 2 because I think Sonny's bust-proof too. I would have Carnell Tate number 3, and I would have Arvell Reese number 4 with the caveat, though, that Reese may end up being the best one of all of them.
Yeah.
But I think his ceiling is the highest, but his floor is also the lowest.
It's an interesting way to put it. So we kind of all went a little different, but kind of the same. So when they asked me this, I went Caleb, Sonny, Arvell, Carnell was the order I went. But I also prefaced it by saying, you know that phrase that I use quite a bit, valedictorian to summer school, right? Best of the worst. This is everybody's summa cum laude here.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody all of these guys are going to be fine. They're all going to be very good NFL players. The thing that's so crazy about this is just the positions that they play. Like one of the things you say about Arvell, okay, so what's Arvell in the NFL? Well, I mean, to me, he's 85% of Micah Parsons is what you would draft him to be.
Right.
If you're drafting him high, that's what you're going for, right? Is that. Sonny, it's a little different because, yes, he's an off-ball linebacker, and you normally don't take those guys in the top 5 of the draft, but he's so much more than that. The NFL is into all of this, a lot of 3 safety looks. Could he drift and do that at time? JP, I'll lean on you on this. Like, what do you see for him in the league?
For Sonny?
For Sonny.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most interesting things of watching Sonny is he still sometimes looks like a guy who is new to linebacker as well as he's played. Like, you can see where there are aspects of his game that need to be rounded out. I also think that he's a guy who walks in day one and is an impact player for you as an off-ball linebacker. You play him in the middle. Yeah. He's great in coverage. He understands coverage concepts better than most of the guys because of his time playing safety. We watched him get downhill. One of the wildest things I see on tape, and I saw some guy on Twitter criticizing him, which I thought was insane. His block destruction is different than most guys where it's like, you punch a guy and you kind of try to knock him off your body and then you shed him around. And he's got this unique swipe when he's moving through traffic where guys can't even get on his body because his arms are so long and he's so quick. I think that translates right away. Like, guys can't block you. You make a lot of plays. And then there's always the option of, do you put him on the edge at times? You can certainly blitz him from off the ball. I think it's phenomenal. And I'll go on to say this as well about the people who you can't draft safety so high. You can't draft an off-ball linebacker so high. I don't think positional value, if you think a guy is going to become a starter for your team and somebody who you want there long-term and at the top of their position when they come up for a new contract, you're getting them on a discount anyway compared to what you would pay them as a veteran. Like, this is the cheapest any of these players are going to be in reality. So to me, top 5, top 10 for a linebacker or a safety doesn't scare me nearly as much. I'll go the opposite direction. I think we're a little bit inflated on what we do with edge rushers. There are a lot of edge rushers. There's one in Cleveland who's phenomenal. He's been like that for a long time. Doesn't impact winning, but they pay him a lot of money. And so I'm fine with him being a top 5 or a top 10 pick because I think he's going to play really well. But I also still think it's a bargain because all these guys are on rookie deals anyway.
You just said a word, JP, that I think's a little overrated, And Peter Schrager just had this tweet a little while ago. He said, I got a text from a respected NFL GM in response to a heated discussion we had on the Schrager Hour over whether a team can really take a safety in the top 5 in 2026. This was the text. Throw positional value out this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you make some great points. And, Joshua, I think that they're coming around on that a little bit.
Yeah. That's why running backs are getting back in the mix.
Yeah, I think the NFL's coming around on that a little bit because, I mean, look, I work for the Browns, and they've had the best maybe defensive end of the last, I don't know, since Reggie White. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's on that list. He's on that. He's encroaching on, one of the greatest. If you put together a game of the best players in the history of the sport, Miles keeps a couple more years like this, he's in that game. Like he's in the 2 deep. He's either starting or he's in the 2 deep at defensive end. I would make the same argument about Joe Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
That he's probably in that game as one of the left tackles. It's probably him and Munoz are the 2 left tackles in that game. And so you pay those 2 positions at a premium. But does it get you results? And the reality is that unless it's quarterback, everything else kind of falls in similarly. And I'm with you on, I think the league's coming around on that a little bit in this notion of like, well, hold on a second. I mean, even now you're seeing like right tackle's kind of the same as left. Forever it was like, well, you got to have the right tackle, you got to have the left tackle, you got to pay him the most. Well, I don't know. Sometimes it's right. And now you're getting this situation where, it might be a more effective pass rush is the one that comes right at your face.
Yep.
At defensive tackle.
Absolutely.
That's more disruptive. So I think this draft especially is one where, because there isn't, outside of Mendoza, there isn't that quarterback that you're waiting on. This draft especially, take one of these, take a guy and sleep well, because they're franchise cornerstone type players is what they are. I mean, they're guys who are going to show up with lunch pail. They're going to be there every meeting. They're going to do all the right things from a culture standpoint that you want. They have those characteristics. So I think all of that is changing a little bit in real time. And your point on the running back one is fascinating. I think that this thing is all going to kind of flip around Jeremiah Love a little bit in terms of where people view him. I think this draft gets flipped on its head with Tennessee at 4. And is the Buckeye going to Tennessee at 4, or is that the position where they go Jeremiah Love? And that's kind of where this will all kind of play out.
Jeremiah Love, to me, I think deserves all the hype that he's getting. I also look at him as very different. Like I was out on Ashton Genty last year, just skill set wise, didn't get it done for me. Jeremiah Love is a guy who lined up in the slot and ran wide receiver routes for Notre Dame and could catch the ball fluidly. There's so much more value than just what he does on the ground. And by the way, don't let him get the ball in a little bit of space because he's going to embarrass you. But I think as teams are starting to look at the way their offenses actually function, and a lot of teams are very much, we want to have a run game, but a lot of our pass game is going to be an extension of the run game, which means that we need a running back who can give us a little bit of both and can hurt people in space. I think that's starting to come back around now, where it's like, if I can find a player like Jeremiah Love, 100% worth the value in the first round.
Jahmyr Gibbs, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Give me a weapon.
Yep.
You need weapons. It doesn't matter where you line them up. You need weapons. One thing I want to throw you guys' way, and I know we're up against it. We got Jake coming up in 2 minutes. Sonny Urlacher? Is that the comp? Think of the space Brian covered in that Tampa 2. Think of the size, 6'4", 260, Urlacher. Those are his combine measurements.
What about a KJ Wright type of Seattle, that defense, that kind of linebacker?
I've heard a lot of Fred Warner with Sonny. Urlacher's interesting. That is,
go look at the size.
Both played safety in college. Both very fast. That's a good one, Bo.
Go look at the size comparisons too. I mean, Sonny's 6'5"-ish, maybe even taller. Yeah, I mean, there might be something there. We'll get have a little fun with Jake Trotter in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends, right here on The Fan.
The weather in Central Ohio just got better, so why shouldn't your loan rate? CME Federal Credit Union wants to try to beat your current loan rate by 2% on autos and toys. Plus, no payments for 90 days on car loans and 60 days on motorcycles, boats, and more. Go to CMEFCU.org today.
Forever starts with the perfect diamond. Hi, it's Alex Johnson from The Diamond Cellar, and for over 78 years, our family has helped generations of couples celebrate love with brilliance, quality, and unbeatable prices. At Diamond Cellar, bigger diamonds and better prices are our promise to you. Whether you're popping the question or upgrading your sparkle, trust the experts. Because diamonds They're our forte. Visit us at Diamond Cellar on Sawmill Road or at Easton Town Center and learn more at diamondcellar.com.
Ever wonder where your go-to maintenance person gets the metal products they need to fix yours and everyone else's problems? The best in the business go to Metal Supermarkets for their wide variety of metal products and shapes to tackle projects from simple to complex. Metal Supermarkets is your source for all metals cut to size and ready fast. No minimum order with maximum service. Visit the family-owned franchise on North Wilson Road or at Columbus at metalsupermarkets.com.
With over 33 years of experience, Newman Roofing has become a household name in Central Ohio. Voted best roofing company 4 years in a row, Newman Roofing delivers a white glove experience every time. When it comes to your roof, call 614-NEW-ROOF or visit newmanroofing.com today.
Veterans and active duty service members, when your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. An elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Cellar, your true jeweler for almost 80 years. The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Let me introduce you to a man with a magnificent salt and pepper beard. A man who's currently roasting lamb on a spit. A man who runs the Rocky River Greek Festival. That man is Jake Trotter.
Indeed it is. He joins on the Brian Heating Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. NFL draft is a week from tomorrow with that first round, my friend. By the way, Buckeye spring game. We'll get all these things with you. I'm curious in that you and I have similar experiences in that we have covered college football at the highest level and then also have this NFL experience as well. Are there stories that you have covered or players that you have covered that were overdrafted and you said, boy, I'm telling you, that ain't it? And then conversely, are there guys that you covered in college as they transition to the pro, or guys that through connections you're like, he's better than where he's being drafted? When you think of the draft, what are some of the things that jump out in those two respects?
Mahomes was the one that sticks out for me. I remember talking to Cliff Kingsbury that summer before Mahomes' final year at Texas Tech back in 2016, and Cliff told me Patrick Mahomes should be the number one overall pick in the draft. And at the time, that was a crazy opinion because, number one, Texas Tech quarterbacks had never done well at the pro level, including, Cliff, who was a late round pick and, a little bit of a short-term journeyman. But Patrick Mahomes had all the tools, and you kind of could see it a little bit. But then that year, that guy was throwing for like 750 yards on people. I don't care what system you're in. I don't care what the competition is. The numbers he was putting up, he was playing hurt. He had a broken wrist on his left hand. He had some knee issues that year and just was balling out. And I thought that he was going to be really interesting in the NFL. So that was the guy that stuck out to me where he went 10th, and I was like, I think that's going to be a really good pick.
That's a good one to have on the resume, buddy. It's a really
Thank
good
you very
pick.
much.
Probably the best of all time.
That did not turn out, but he definitely did.
I think one of the hard things, and I talk about this obviously we talk about Buckeyes all the time, and one of the ones that was really hard for me was Justin Fields. Because I just didn't see Now, the situation he was drafted in was really tough. But when I watch him at Ohio State, I'm like, this guy feels like he can do everything that you would want a quarterback to do in the modern age. And he got into a bad spot and it didn't work. And so I wonder in the Mahomes thing, that's part of the process, right? Because one of the things I remember talking to a former NFL general manager about was they have a very difficult time with Ohio State quarterbacks, specifically quarterbacks, because the separation that the receivers get, how do you judge how great they are at making NFL open throws, which is an entirely different task?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that affects Julian Sand, who it's crazy to think about this, but he will be eligible to enter the draft after this upcoming season. Do you think he will? I don't know.
Yes.
It's such a loaded quarterback draft, but he also had a receiving core last year. It was probably better than, the Cleveland Browns, for example. He has Carnell Tate as his number 2, who's going to go, in the 6, 7, 8 range in this draft. And, you know, a tight end who's probably going to be a day 2 pick. I mean, you just go down the list and just incredible offensive skill talent around him. And number 1 he had is like maybe the best receiver prospect we've had since, I don't know, like Julio Jones. So he had a lot of talent to work with. And I think that's fair where you look at, okay, is it the quarterback or is it, you know, Chris Olave and JSN and Garrett Wilson and just awesome running game half the time? And is that what is helping, you know, these guys look so good? But, you know, I thought Dwayne Haskins was going to be a good, you know, just because of his size, especially. How big was he?
6'3".
Yeah, I mean, he was a big quarterback. I mean, with the exception of Fields, like all these guys have had pretty good size too. So it's not like an outlier from that perspective over and over. But yeah, like I think that is something that as great as Ohio State has been at the skill positions, it does make you wonder when you're evaluating the quarterbacks, okay, is this something that's going to translate, or they just have so much talent that's playing into what we're seeing?
You know, Jake, I wanted to continue part of a conversation that we were having a little bit earlier, just based off of the distribution of players in this draft. You've got Fernando Mendoza, and then quarterback is really thin after that. On the flip side, you've got linebacker, safety, running back that people are talking about as potential top 5, top 10 picks. Do you think the distribution of players is now starting to force a referendum on positional value when it comes to the draft specifically?
Yeah, I did a story about Caleb Downs the other day, you know, because I knew safeties didn't go in the top 10 very often, but I was wanting to know, like, okay, how does this compare to other positions? It was pretty stark. I think there have been 8 safeties taken in the top 10 since like 2000. You know, Roy Williams from Oklahoma, LaRon Landry, Sean Taylor. I mean, and these guys are like, you know, they're physical, you know, just apex type of specimens, unique players, unicorns almost. And which I wouldn't put Caleb Downs in that category. As great a player as he is, he's not, you know, he's not Sean Taylor. He's not 6'2" and runs a 4.35. But I do think that, particularly in this draft, where you don't have a lot of quarterbacks, that you know, after Mendoza, that are going to be first round picks. So maybe you cast aside, you know, the premium you put on positional value and just get the best player. You know, that I think it was the GM from the Chiefs was talking about this, and I put it in the article. The problem with that is, like, if you need a left tackle or you need an edge rusher, like, you can't get those guys in free agency. Yeah. You just can't get them. I mean, the Browns can't get a left tackle in free agency or really via trade. And I mean, Max Crosby, who is a really good player, but knocking on the door of 30, has injury issues. And until that trade got negated, he went for 2 first-round picks. You know, you probably have to give up 4 to get Myles Garrett right now. So you just can't get those players in free agency or via trade, which is why you draft them. You know, that's why you draft Arvell Reese. That's why you draft David Bailey. And, you know, receiver is kind of the other position where, you know, it's really hard to get those guys unless you trade 2 first-round picks. So, you know, that's why Carnell Tate, I think, could be, you know, maybe even a top 5 pick. So that's I think that's the biggest reason why you would be cautious about drafting a safety or a running back, because you can get those guys. You can't get the edge rusher. You can't get the left tackle. And that's why those positions go in the top 10 every year.
If you were Andrew Berry, what would you do at 6?
I saw Mel Kiper had them trading down with Dallas. So the Cowboys gave up 12 and 20. The Browns gave up 6 in their second-round pick, which I think is 39. And I think you could get another pick. Like, I think you could get a third-rounder out of that deal. I don't hate that for the Browns. Now you've got 3 first-round picks. And I think that the difference between whoever, like, the 7th pick is going to be and the 22nd pick this year's draft is not that great of a difference. So I would look to trade down, because the strength of this draft is at a position that you don't really need, you know, edge rusher. The flip side of that, Bo, is if Arvell Race, which I don't think he will be, let's say he's sitting there at 6. Don't you just take him? Let's just build the Death Star on defense.
Yeah.
Like, offense is probably going to stink anyway. So, let's go get that guy, because that guy might be, some version of, Micah Parsons, who's the guy he gets comped to.
Yeah.
I don't care, what your needs are. Like, that guy can play for anybody.
What are your thoughts about what the Browns end up doing with 24? And, obviously the top of the draft is a conversation there. I think there's going to be some value sitting there at the end of first round based off of what they do with that first pick.
Well, let's assume they don't trade down, and let's just assume they take Carnell Tate at 6. Then I'm just taking the best offensive tackle. I'm taking Blake Miller. I'm taking the offensive tackle from Arizona State. Maybe Caden Proctor is there. I'm just taking the best offensive lineman at that point. Or let's say you take Maui Noah at 6, then I'm taking the best receiver who's available at 24. So, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, Omar Cooper. I don't know if he's still going to be there, but somebody like that. So I think that if they don't make any trades, it's going to be tackle, receiver, or receiver tackle. And then I think they're probably going to take a corner in the second round, because it's a little bit of a need on that defense, underrated, because they're like an injury away from really having some major problems there, because they just don't have a lot of depth at the position after Tyson Campbell and Denzel Ward. So that's kind of how I think it's going to play out. But again, I think they've got to have the flexibility to say, all right, we're not that good. We're a couple of years away from even being a playoff contender. Let's go get the best player available. Who cares if he's a tackle or a defensive end? That's the way I would approach this draft. I don't know if it's the way they're going to approach it.
I would agree. Yeah, I think that's kind of the roadmap there. Good stuff as always, buddy. We'll do it again next week. Thanks for your time.
All right, guys. See you later.
There he goes. Good buddy Jake Trotter joining us on the Bryan Heating Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. Of course, senior college football writer and reporter at ESPN. Do a little thing or not a thing coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on the Fan.
Wake up with the Fan. Eat lunch with the Fan. Go to bed with the Fan. Dream about the Fan. Then change your sheets. Gross.
Ew, you guys are gross, but stick around in case I don't find anyone else.
The Fan.
For the ones who get it done, Grainger offers the professional grade products you need, delivered when and where you need them. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Tired of snoring? Sleep Better Columbus can help with a custom mouthpiece that opens your airway and stops the snoring. No mask, no noise. Call 1-800-MORE-SLEEP or visit sleepbettercolumbus.com today. Stop snoring, sleep better, live better.
James Laurinaitis here for my guys at Green & Sons, the premier Kubota dealership in Central Ohio. Green & Sons has all the Kubotas you need to tackle your land and come out a winner. They have zero-turn skid steers, tractors from 18 to 171 horsepower, and also utility vehicles. My favorite is my RTV Sidekick. The best thing about Green & Sons is they've been family-owned and operated since 1970, and you will love dealing with the Green family and their winning team. Do what I did and check out Green & Sons located in Mount Sterling and Marysville, or online at greenandsons.com for all your Kubota needs.
When you saw your heating bills this winter, did you think this is out of control? The problem is your house is leaking money, and the only thing higher than your heating bills are your cooling bills. Steve here from USA Insulation. Let us fix your energy bill problem for good. If you aren't foam insulated, you really aren't insulated. For $99 a month, interest-free, we'll foam your home and help cut those energy bills. 529-2440 or USAinsulation.net.
USA Insulation.
A noisy garage door is a cry for help. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Don's Garage Door Service. Most repairs are simple, but if left untreated, they can turn into costly repairs. Your garage door works hard every day, and a little maintenance goes a long way. We fix garage doors fast with quality parts designed to last a lifetime. Over 90,000 five-star reviews don't happen by accident. They happen by putting people first. Fixing your garage doors is what we do. From repairs to upgrades, call Don's Garage Door Service today.
We ask parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
Nathan has taught me to embrace the moment. Age-wise, I'm in my late 60s. I'm old enough to be his grandfather. Will he be embarrassed to acknowledge me as his dad? I think the most important thing we can do is let them know that they're safe, that they're valued and cared for and loved, and that they're important.
I knew I wanted to be adopted by him because of how he taught me to be the person who I am today. And it's coming from a dad that didn't expect to become a dad. And I feel very proud to be his son.
That was what he needed, and he was what I needed. Every day is full of new opportunities. That's what it's been about, realizing the simple things that it takes to make such a huge difference in these kids' lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care at adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
In the old days when people lived to be 40, you only had one option for listening to your favorite show. But now, ooh, baby, radio, podcast, the Fan app, and YouTube, ooh, just to name a few, live or on demand. You have no excuses. The Fan.
Hey, it's T-Bone again. Sleep apnea doesn't have to rule your nights. Sleep Better Columbus has been treating snoring and sleep apnea for over 15 years with proven results and now has an office open in Marysville. Call 1-800-MORE-SLEEP or go to sleepbettercolumbus.com. Stop snoring, sleep better, live better. Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone here for Window Nation. Spring has arrived and it'll be a great time to open your windows, but oh wait, your windows don't open easily. They leak when it rains. They've got cracked glass. They need repainting again. Ugh, getting top quality custom fit windows from Window Nation, that's easy and affordable. Right now, during the More You Buy, the More You Save sale, you could save up to 50% off all your windows. Plus, you could get them with 0 interest for 5 years. During uncertain times, one of the best investments you can make is in your home. Experts report that windows retain 80% of their value. With Window Nation, you'll get windows that easily slide open and closed. They are made with top quality seals so they won't leak when it's rainy or windy. And unlike other windows, they're maintenance free. They're so good, Window Nation stands behind them with a lifetime warranty. And they're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. Don't wait to put an end to your window problems. Save big with Window Nation's The More You Buy, The More You Save sale. Going on now. Sale ends soon, so visit windownation.com for your consultation.
The Fan Poll is sponsored by JT's Pizza and Pub, home of award-winning pizza and 32-ounce Yingling drafts for only $4. What's the weather outside? Who cares? Bakers and shorts. This is Bishop and Friends.
All right, time for a little thing or not a thing on a first Friday. Hit it, fellas.
Thing or not a thing.
Sponsored by Billiards Plus. Find your next grill and everything you need for the master griller. Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
It sure seems like we have this conversation after every major sporting event, but the final round of this year's Masters averaged 14 million viewers on CBS, making it the most watched final round in 11 years. Sunday's coverage also peaked at 20 million viewers, the largest television peak for the Masters since 2013. Thing or not a thing?
Well, you had star power at the top of the leaderboard. As much star power as golf can have now with Rory and Scotty in a post-Tiger world. That's about as good as it's going to get. So that helps. The other thing that I'm curious about, and this I might dig in on this a little bit if you think people would want to, if people would be interested in it, and that is this: are we, because we're starting to see this in not just majors but in sports, highest rated Final Four games in a decade, highest rated this in a decade. Are people coming back to live sports? Are they coming back to watching games in a way that maybe for a decade they didn't? Maybe they spent so much time on their phone, and maybe there's people who are going away from that and turning back to sports the way that we did 15 years ago. It's always been the last frontier. That's why the rights fees are what they are. I mean, that because it's still the one thing. Sports that you care about is one thing that you can't DVR, and if you really care, you have to watch it live. But I do wonder if we are kind of swerving back to people sitting down and watching live sports.
I think there's some of that. It's the water cooler effect. Like doing it with shows that are bingeable, it's a little bit more difficult because everybody's got to be on the same page. You got to get committed to the schedule, right? Like you watch the sports, you just show up, you talk about it the next day. There's a community aspect of this as well. And if there's anything we learned in the post-COVID world is anything people can do and do together, they want to do. But I feel like part of this is still the shift on how they're counting the Nielsen numbers as well.
Good point. Yes.
In the idea that they just have a better grasp of who's watching at this point.
And I still don't even think this is real because it doesn't take into account people who are watching in bars.
Right.
Which could be 60 people,
Bo, I think the thing here is that they did it without Tiger, because I'm sure all these other ones had Tiger involved.
Yes.
And I think to your point about people coming back to sports, I think the people that are putting content out there are realizing that it's cheaper for them to cover sports rather than to put new quality shows and programs out there. So I think the options, while there are aplenty, have declined in nosedive a little bit.
Yeah, and Joshua makes a great point, too, in that the water cooler thing, if people still go around water coolers or what the trending things, you really can't do that on a show that's a binge.
No.
You can't do that with a Netflix show that drops a whole season of television, or, because who at the job can watch 10 hours of a show in 2 days? I mean, just no way.
It's too much to coordinate, getting on the same page,
much.
too.
So the only chance you have for something like that is like the old HBO model, where we're going to drop Game of Thrones on a Sunday night at 10 o'clock. We're going to drop Sopranos a Sunday at 9 and The Wire at 10. That's the only way or the AMC did with Breaking Bad. Like, that would air, I think, Sunday or Monday night. Mad Men would go on before it. Like, that's the only way that you can do that. All of the streaming binge shows are unwater coolerable because people watch them at their own pace. And sports, it happens at a given time. You know it's there, and it's easy to have that community conversation around it.
On Tuesday, the NCAA announced tampering violations involving Iowa head coach Kirk Ferentz and assistant coach John Budmar in the Hawkeyes football program. According to the release, Budmar engaged in 13 calls and sent 2 text messages to Cade McNamara and his father while McNamara was still enrolled at Michigan. Budmar also facilitated a phone call between the athlete and Ferentz. Shortly after these communications, Cade McNamara entered the transfer portal and committed to Iowa. The NCAA classified the violations in this case as level 2 mitigated. Penalties for Iowa's violations include 1 year of probation, a fine of $25,000, which is self-imposed by the school, a 2-week ban on all football recruiting communication during this upcoming calendar year, self-imposed by the school, a 24-day reduction in recruiting person days, including 2 weeks during which Ferentz was prohibited from off-campus recruiting activities, as well as 4 days the assistant coach was. A vacation of all records in which the student-athlete competed while ineligible. A 1-game suspension for Ferentz and the assistant coach during the 2024 season, which was also self-imposed. Thing or not a thing?
Just a random arbitrary thing. How do you decide that this is what we're going to do? All that's going on in college athletics, you're going to go back to Cade McNamara playing at Iowa?
Yep.
And communication via text? Really? Mm-hmm. With what's going on in the sport right now?
Yes.
And this is what we're going to do? Mm-hmm. We're going to put a butterfly bandage on a bleeding, gushing hemorrhage?
Yes.
This is what we're going to do? By the way, Josh, fellas, if I'm Iowa, I tell them to kick rocks. Kick rocks.
I think part of the problem here is they got turned in or whatever, and they answered the inquiry.
Why would you?
Why would you? I would tell them, nah, I'm good.
I'm down the road, boys.
I'm just not. And you guys aren't going to do a damn thing about it.
No, prove it.
I think the other thing that stands out to me in this scenario was this was the year that Iowa and Michigan played in the Big Ten championship en route to Michigan's national title.
Okay.
And they had sign stealer guy. Mm-hmm. He's dressed up like a detective off of Inspector Gadget at a Central Michigan game.
Yeah.
And all they got was a little financial fine because the only way they're vacating records and games and whatnot nowadays is if you have ineligible players on the field, not the cheating, sign-stealing guy. That's insane to me.
What I didn't hear in all of this was I didn't hear that any of these people participating in this threw their phone in the bottom of a river. I also didn't hear that anybody held a butter knife or threatened to kill themselves with a butter knife, the person that they were having an illegal, inappropriate relationship with. I didn't hear anything about the FBI raiding a server.
No.
Forgot about that one.
No. I mean, it's really. You going after Ferentz?
Why are we self-imposing still?
Good Lord. I mean, Ohio State should have taught. They're in the Big Ten. We learned from that in 2012.
Do not cooperate.
Why would you do that?
You can't.
We played in a Gator Bowl to not play for a national championship. Now, to be fair to Gene, he didn't know that 12 was going to be like that, but it ended up being like that. And if you had just said, actually, we're good, prove it, you play for a national title in 2012.
Oh, what a time to be alive.
Yeah, I mean, you play that Notre Dame team.
Man, I'd had 2 rings.
You had 2 rings, damn. You give me Braxton Carlos Hyde in 2012, I'll roll with that.
Think about how much more money, because Braxton can be Braxton right now, and more power to him. But think about Braxton as a star with a national championship.
Yeah,
my goodness.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Think of how many jobs JP would have with 2 rings.
Yeah. just drop those on a table. All right, coming up, final hour of the program, Dalton Wasserman, formerly of PFF. Now he's host of the Preferred Walk-On College Football Show. He'll join us at 11:30. We've got a little Hey Guys coming your way next. Still time to get those questions in. You can do so live in the YouTube chat as well. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
During this 10-second promo, Rothman will lose money gambling on something.
People like you come here and blow the family nest egg that built this town.
Rothman and Ice.
Weekdays from noon to 3.
The Fan.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. I've been asked many times how Morgan & Morgan became the largest injury firm in the world. I think I know. When someone comes to us for an on-the-job injury, we have a huge workers' compensation practice. But many times we find a defective product that was responsible for that injury. Luckily for them, we have a product liability section headed by my son Mike. In addition to the comp case, there is a product case too. Other times, the injured worker is fired or harassed for bringing that claim. We have them covered. Our employment lawyers handle retaliation claims as well as wage theft and discrimination cases. And in some cases, need to file for Social Security benefits. No problem. We became big for a reason. 30% of our new cases come as referrals from former clients. Hiring us is easy. Go to forthepeople.com on your mobile device or computer, or call Pound Law on your cell, pound 529. Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Dial Pound Law.
Morgan & Morgan, Ohio office located at 600 Vine Street, Cincinnati. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.
Hey folks, Austin Ward here. You know, there was a time if you handed me a bread basket at dinner, it was like feeding a gator. You might lose a finger. Bread, pasta, pizza, man, carbs were undefeated in my life. That is, until Awaken 180 weight loss came in and flipped the script. Look, I've run the gauntlet of diets, and each time, carbs won by knockout. But Awaken 180 isn't a diet. It's a whole new playbook for changed up lifestyle. We all know it's necessary to lose that weight, but this is to keep it off. That constant carb craving, the one we all shrug off as normal, gone. Sure, I still love my pizza, but here's the difference. Now I don't need it. So now, most times when that waiter hustles over with a basket of temptation, I just grin, give a little nod, and wave it away like I'm passing on a 4th and long. Because I'm in control now. Awaken 180 isn't just a game changer, it's a life changer. Trust me. Call them at 844-346-1800 or visit awaken180weightloss.com. Your future self will thank you.
Parents, are your teens good with money?
No.
Switch to Huntington Bank and let's teach them. They get their own card, which they can add to their digital wallet, and you can monitor and set spending limits. Let's get more from money. Switch to Huntington Bank. Welcome. Eligibility requirements apply. Some features may require enrollment.
I'm Leslie from Pella Columbus.
And I'm Wilson from that other window place.
Wilson, we put new windows in a Dublin home last week. You wouldn't believe how much new light was let in. Changed the entire mood of the home.
You don't need fancy windows to change the mood of a room, Leslie. Know what else will do that? Wilson's Wicks, my new candle line. Here, smell this one.
Oh, that's bad.
I call it warm tuna salad. It's not for everyone.
Get the windows that can completely change the look and feel of your home at PellaColumbus.com.
This spring, celebrate the sparkle that she brings to your life with something that sparkles right back. Whether it's for Mother's Day, an anniversary, or just because, Diamond Cellar has the perfect gift for the women who mean the world to you. Visit Diamond Cellar today on Selma Road and at Easton Town Center.
This is Gordon Miller from Miller Lending, the original home of the no-cost mortgage. If you've been in the market for a new home or just wanted to take advantage of lower rates, recent events have shown exactly why Miller Lending chose to offer a way around bad timing with our no closing cost program. With no fees rolled in or charged, including the cost of title insurance, you can simply close on today's rates and refinance free of charge as rates improve. Over the past several months, we spoke to numerous borrowers who had heard rates were coming down and chose to wait. We explained that if rates did fall, you could simply update a few documents and refinance again, but why take the chance? So when rates spiked to 0.5% recently, Not only was I disappointed that we couldn't help those who waited, but also for those buying a home who just saw a sharp increase to their monthly payment. So while we can't control the market, we can offer an alternative. Eliminate timing and say goodbye to closing costs forever. 877-9-NO-COST or simply apply online at nocostmortgage.com. Miller Lending is an equal housing lender and MLS number 250-2146.
Hey, it's Anthony. By now you know my good feet story, but the point I try to get across is that it's an ongoing one for me. For as long as I can remember, it's always been about my lower back. But when I got fitted for my personal arch supports, it's been an absolute game changer. I feel better. They take all the stress off my back. I feel supported and aligned, and you don't hear me complain about it the way I used to. I could feel the difference instantly, and I didn't have to wait to feel that difference. Once I got fitted, popped them in my shoes, took the test walk around the store, and now on a daily basis, everything feels better. And that's what I mean about an ongoing story. This journey to feeling more comfortable makes everything better. You can make an appointment online or just stop into the Good Feet store in Grove City or the one on Polaris Parkway in Westerville, and their experts will personally fit you. Then do what I did. Take a test walk around, and you will feel the difference. Do your feet a favor. Get started at goodfeet.com.
Broadcasting live from the McDaniel GM Superstore Studios. Driving excellence since 1916. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. WBNS HD1 Columbus.
Good morning. I'm Ryan Baker. The Columbus Blue Jackets season came to a fitting end last night. They lose at home 2-1 to the Washington Capitals. Boone Jenner scored the only goal for the CBJ. Alex Ovechkin had 4 shots on goal and an assist. That might have been his final NHL game last night. The Cincinnati Reds, they had 3 hits last night. 2 of those were solo home runs from Spencer Steer and Sal Stewart. They beat the San Francisco Giants 2-1. Brady Singer pitches 6 solid innings for the win. Those two back at it tonight down in Cincinnati at 6:40. You can hear that over on the Fans HD3 beginning at 6:10. The Cleveland Guardians lose in 10 to the St. Louis Cardinals 6-5. They get home runs from Jose Ramirez and Daniel Schneemann. Those two wrap up their series in St. Louis this afternoon at 1:15. This one's sponsored by Green & Sons. Find your next Kubota tractor at Green & Sons, located in Mount Sterling and north of Marysville.
Pull up a stool and ask the bartender for something neat, because Uncle Bo is on the radio. This is Bishop and Friends.
All right, final hour here on a First Friday Miracle edition of the program. Obviously, the story here, and it's going around we'll get to Hey Guys in just a second. It's going around the sports world right now, is Rick Bowness from last night after the Jackets closed out the season, a back and forth between the excellent Aaron Portzline of The Athletic and Bowness. Let's have a listen if you haven't.
Rick, you've been a part of a lot of games and a lot of seasons. Have you ever been part of something that's as frustrating as this has been down the stretch?
No. And you know what? All you got to do is look at the stat sheet. 3 hits, 23 giveaways. Like, I don't know if I'm back, but if I'm back, I'm changing this culture. These guys, they don't care. Losing is not important enough to them. It doesn't bother them. Like, how can you go out and play like that? Should have done this about a month ago. But this is why we are where we are. This is why we're out of the playoffs. That kind of effort. Losing, you have to hate losing. I don't care if it's a meaningless game. I don't care. Show up and compete. 3 hits, 23 giveaways. What else you want to know?
You reached them for so long after you got here. How did it stop? Where did it stop?
Because it got tough. Because it got hard. Like we talked about after the Olympic break. It's going to get harder. So everything's good as long as it's going their way. And now it gets tough, we don't want to battle back. And that's what's happened over the last a couple weeks. That's all that's happened. We're going to change that. If I'm back, I don't know if I'm back. Don and I will talk. We'll get to that. But man, oh man, some of those guys are so lucky the season's over and there's no practice tomorrow. Anyways, there's no more games. What else you want to know?
I think even in the long history of this franchise, I don't think they've ever lost 6 games in a row to end a season at home.
No.
Is that worse?
It's terrible. Inexcusable. If they're not embarrassed by, not only tonight, by that, they're on the wrong team. They are. They got to be embarrassed with that. Anything else?
Don Waddell, who we assume is going to make that decision, was on T-Bone and Tyvus this morning. And one of the things that the fellas asked him is, well, how about it? Will Rick be back?
Yeah, from my end, obviously, I will meet with my boss and people above me once I have that conversation with Rick. But from my end as the general manager, watch the work that he put into this and how he got this team going, I support it 100%.
All right, do you two support it 100%? Would you bring Rick Bowness back, saying 2 months and knowing where this franchise is?
I have to be consistent with what I've said all along, even when they got up to second in the Metro. I would not, because I would like a coach. We've had a bunch of coaching changes here, and I know if Rick Bowness goes, you're making another one, but I want a coach that can be here for the next 4 or 5 years and grow with this team. And I just think Rick Bowness is a 1-2 year coach at best.
That's where I'm at. Mentor of mine who was an old football coach said the moment you start thinking about retiring, you've already retired. And this is a guy who has already retired. And regardless of his ability to continue to do the job for many more years, that just gives me a little bit of pause. The idea that I just don't know how long he's going to be in it or want to do it or can do it is something that I would be a little bit scared of.
I don't know him well enough.
I don't either.
I don't know him well enough to know if he's a young 71.
He seems like he is, but
seems like it. Yeah. I don't think you have to think about I think that if you bring him back, then you also have to put a roster. You have to define what the next year's about. And then what is the next 3 to 5? You need to have what is success? How do we define success next year? And then how do you define it the next 3 to 5? And are you going to build it in his image of what he wants a team to be? And that's the conversation where the age part of it is. Because I made this point in the first hour. You have to draft to a system. You have to draft to this is who we are. The great ones do that. The great organizations do that. Coaches, GMs, sometimes they come and go. But the identity of who you are as a franchise, theoretically, most of the time, those things stay. And that will be, I think, a big challenge for the Blue Jackets going forward. So, and I saw Zach Werenski and some of the players are having comments about it. And Zach is paraphrasing here, but essentially said he got a lot of respect, but I don't agree with him. So, but they also said, I think he'd be great to have him back. So we'll see where all of this shakes out. Interesting couple of days down at Nationwide. All right, time for a little bit of Hey Guys on a First Friday.
Nothing is off limits. Your participation is required. Just use the hashtag #HeyGuys and ask anything you want. Do it now.
Sponsored by High Bank Distillery Co. Great food, award-winning drinks, and something for everyone in the family. Dine, drink, distill at High Bank.
All right, we've got a bunch on the YouTube chat today, but let me start here. Let's start on Twitter with Troy. He says, hey, guys, what would be the football equivalent of the 999 challenge that's being done during baseball games currently? And if you didn't catch this,
educate me.
The San Francisco Giants are doing something where it's 9 hot dogs, 9 beers, in 9 innings. And I think it's like $54 for the whole thing. Although, Bo, I've looked into this a little bit, and the beer is just like 1 36-ounce beer, and it's like poured into 3-ounce flight glasses. So I feel like that's cheating a little bit on the beer part of this.
That might be sanity, Bake.
Who is looking for sanity in something like this?
9 hot dogs and 9 beers? I'm a man. I'm 40. That would set me out a week. I mean, I'm going to have indigestion for a week with that. Joshua, I mean, could you get 9 hot dogs, 9 beers in 9 innings? No chance for me. The football equivalent, would it be, 60 minutes, would it be like a shot of beer every minute and then hot dog's probably the best stadium food that you're going to find. Would it be like a nacho, a shot of beer and a nacho chip every minute? I don't know.
That's
what
like
it would
your
be.
That challenge you used to do, right? Like
the Century.
Yeah, there you go.
Century Club.
There you go.
Which was 100 shots, which was you never made it past an hour.
Bring it back. This is a toughie. Because it's really difficult to find what the comp would be quarters, innings, right? I don't know, throw something that sits on your stomach, maybe like a soft pretzel. You gotta eat a couple of those a quarter. Throw the beers in there, and I feel like we're cooking. I will say this, though, Bo, and this is very disgusting of me, but when I go to Skyline, 5 or 6 conies every trip.
Do you really?
Oh, man. And listen, it's a regrettable experience afterward, but in the moment, that gratification I get the moment I'm slamming those conies is worth it.
You're still a young man. There's going to come a time where you look at that challenge in a very different way, brother.
I will say this. I thought the 9 hot dogs in 9 innings wouldn't be a problem. I had 3 hot dogs this weekend. I was full. So it might be a problem. I thought the beer part of this would be the problem. I could be wrong.
Vic, you only have so much room in that stomach cavity, buddy. Like, you put all that in, something's got to come out.
That's a great point. This is a great point. This one from our friend, I've grabbed the wrong mouse, Chimdi Chikwa.
Chimdi Chikwa.
His burner. Hey, guys, who is the Buckeye going to the draft that is not a projected first rounder, but that you think could have an impact on their rookie deal?
Max Clare.
Yeah, that's the one I was going to say, too.
I felt like watching the Purdue version of him and then some of the way he was utilized and some of the production, there were drops in there. So some of it was on him. Never fully clicked to what I think the ceiling actually is, but you're looking at an athletic tight end that I think fits into a lot of NFL schemes. I think he could be an impact player right away. Biggest concern is if you want him to be an inline blocker, I just don't think that's what he's going to do. But if you want him to catch a football, he's going to catch you a lot of footballs.
Just to piggyback on that, at the Combine, I can't remember if it was Daniel Jeremiah. It was one of those, I think it was Jeremiah. I asked him about Claire, and he said, look, he did not have the production that you thought he was going to have at Ohio State, but he transformed his body. So it's possible that while his season was disappointing statistically in Columbus, what he is coming out of it is exactly why he went there. And I thought that was an interesting way to look at it, that he put on the weight, the muscle, the body by Mick, all that stuff. And now he has a chance to be better as a pro just because he went to Ohio State, even though he didn't have the production we thought he would have. So I thought that was an interesting way to look at Max Clare.
This one coming in on the YouTube chat from Shannon. Hey, guys, where is your happy place? Why is it this place? And anything special you do or do not do there that make it that place?
All right, we're going to give some thought to that one. We're up against it, so we'll give some thought to that one. We'll continue with the Hey Guys coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
The only workplace in America to participate in the Doorknob Fart Game. And we also play office basketball and sometimes do radio. The Fan, Ohio sports destination.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Tired of snoring? Sleep Better Columbus can help with a custom mouthpiece that opens your airway and stops the snoring. No mask, no noise. Call 1-800-MORE-SLEEP or visit sleepbettercolumbus.com today. Stop snoring, sleep better, live better.
Call the folks at Buckeye, night or day. The heat is on its way, and my AC's not brand new. How can I make sure it cools like it's supposed to?
I recommend a tune-up to you and every caller. Experience true comfort for $53.
Get an AC tune-up for $53.
Call 614-683-9911. Call the folks at Buckeye, night or day.
It always seems to happen at the worst time. You're finally in bed after a long, hard day, and then you hear it. You sit up, heart sinking. Is that coming from the ceiling? All of a sudden, it's a middle of the night flashlight hunt to find the leak. But don't worry, Newman Roofing has you covered, literally. With more than 3 decades in the business, we've seen just about everything a storm can throw at a roof. Our teams know how to spot the problem, explain your options, and fix it right the first time, with craftsmanship and care you can feel good about. We're not just here for a quick patch job, and we never will be. We're here to make sure your home stays protected season after season. So when it comes to your roofing, siding, or gutter needs, choose the company you can trust, Newman Roofing. Call Newman Roofing today at 614-NEW-ROOF. That's 614-NEW-ROOF, or visit online at newmanroofing.com. Don't just get a new roof, get a Newman roof.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
John always listens to his truck. So when his brakes start talking,
he goes to AutoZone, where a helpful AutoZoner gets him the right parts. If John has time to put them in, he borrows a kit with Loan-A-Tool. And if he doesn't, he gets a free shop referral. No hassles, just help. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool. Restrictions apply.
Hey, Mom, now that I have an after-school job, I think I want to buy a drum kit.
Okay, Rockstar. Let's look at your account. When kids start making money, Chase has easy-to-use tools and expert bankers to help them learn how to manage it.
And next month, I'll buy the bass drum and the cymbals. Oh, and maybe some noise-canceling headphones for you.
Aw, you've thought of everything. Help kids save, budget, and build financial independence, all with Chase. That's good for kids and good for parents. Visit your local Chase branch and get started.
Account subject to approval. J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Skip Mosick has been on the Fan for nearly 80 years, and during that time, he's worn many hats. Executive producer for Ohio State Athletics, talk show host, private detective when Ron Stokes loses his phone. Somebody do something! He's done it all. But his proudest accomplishment, host of Tee to Green. If it has anything to do with golf in Central Ohio, Skip's on it. Cheers to the next 80-year skipper. And listen to Tee to Green Saturday mornings at 9 here on The Fan.
Hey, it's T-Bone again. Sleep apnea doesn't have to rule your nights. Sleep Better Columbus has been treating snoring and sleep apnea for over 15 years with proven results and now has an office open in Marysville. Call 1-800-MORE-SLEEP or go to sleepbettercolumbus.com. Stop snoring, sleep better, live better.
Hello, it's John Kozik, founder and president of TurboTrack Realty, and I buy real estate as is fast for cash. Call today for an all-cash offer on any of your properties and we can close within days at 614-470-2000. 614-470-2000. Do you own a property that's outdated and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great, I'll buy it. 614-470-2000. 614-470-2000. Would it be convenient for you if you could simply take what you want and leave the rest behind? Great, I'll buy it. I buy vacant properties, inherited homes, divorce situations, death in the family, foreclosures, commercial properties. I even buy my tenants won't pay me the rent houses. Call today and speak with me, John Kozik, for an all-cash offer and the help you need. At 614-470-2000, 614-470-2000, TurboTrackRealty.com.
Fan weather.
From the Logan AC and Heat Services Weather Center.
Partly sunny skies for us today with highs in the mid-80s and breezy winds. And then as we head into the evening, we'll see chances of showers and storms develop, some which could be on the stronger side. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with lows in the 60s. We will see storms and even showers possible the second half of your Thursday. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with highs around 80 degrees. For The Fan, I'm meteorologist Meredith Garfalo with the 10 Weather Impact Forecast.
If the sound of another man slammed against plexiglass turns you on, you've come to the right place. Proud to be your home for Jackets hockey. The Fan, Ohio sports destination. Keep your friends close and your producers closer. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
That was a hell of that was a deep question as we continue the Hey Guys. Was it Shannon who had it? Where's your happy place?
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the happy place. It was how do you do it? What do you...
Yeah, why is it your happy place, and is there anything special that you do or don't do there?
I mean, there's simple things like, you know, like after a long day and everybody's home and sipping on a cocktail and watching a good show or event or something like that. That's always a happy place. I think sunsets are pretty much undefeated, whether they're in Florida or Southern California or Montana or here or wherever. Like those are pretty good if you can sip on something and enjoy one of those. It's interesting because I have earbuds in my ear 5 hours a day. What I love a lot is silence, which is interesting. It's like, you know, I really want it to be quiet. Like my wife's like, you're not very talkative at dinner. I'm like, I'm talked out. I'm topped out. I've said all I need to say for the day. Do you have one? Do you guys have one that's like, this is the happy place?
Yes. And I resonate with you on the silence. Yeah. Got the 2-year-old and the 7-month-old. It's a loud house. Mm-hmm. I'm a homebody in a lot of ways, and I enjoy my social life, but I prefer to be home. Mm-hmm. So when I'm at home, we have 2 couches in the living room, and then we have 2 chairs. And there's one couch that I sit in that has a dent that is perfectly molded to my ass. And that is my number one happy place. And it's great because we have an open floor plan. you're still connected to people in the kitchen. I can still see the kids in the playroom, so I'm not too far away. But that is my relaxation spot. The other one, and this is a nod to Uncle Bo here, is I have what I like to call my bourbon library in the front of the house. And we've got 4 leather chairs in there, and we've got the blackout shades. It's dark, and, wood furniture accents and bottles. And every once in a while, you go in there for a nice pour. You unwind. I keep my magazines. I'm a big periodical guy. Got Esquire. I've got GQ.
Right.
I've got Whiskey Advocate and all the different things, and I just sit in there and flip through them and enjoy myself.
I like a flip through too, man. I get those. I have all those ones too. Those are that's good life there.
But
like
why didn't we do the show meeting the past 2 days at the Bourbon Library?
You guys are invited.
That's what we should have done. I have a couple happy places. One is my basement at my house. Got the TV down there, great for watching sports. It's always cool. It's darker if you want it to be, so I love that. I am also a big hot tub guy.
Oh.
So you give me a drink in a hot tub, I am in my happy place. It's kind of same thing in the summer when I go to Florida every night at the end of the night when it's super dark on the ocean. I just go sit out on the balcony with a drink and wrap up the night that way. And then I know it's been frustrating here recently, but I love going to Columbus Blue Jackets games. And that is something that usually just calms me and makes me happy, although it's tough to be calm here down the stretch. This one from Jaywalking. Hey, guys, spring has sprung. What is your favorite outside activity? And you can't say golf.
I love, and it was funny. I was just thinking about it this morning. A couple of years ago, we put in a sport court out back. And so it's like a 40 by 60 court. It's got hoops on both ends. And one of my favorite things to do this time, it's certainly in the summer once we get there, when the boys get out of all of this, school sports that they're in, is we play 2-on-2. So it's short court, 2-on-2. And it's me and Bootsy versus NBC and Beamsy. And so we have a season-long series that lasts all summer, and we keep track of what the win totals are as the season goes along. So I will do anything with the kids. We do pickleball and all that stuff on it too. Pretty versatile, but yeah, we do. I cannot wait to do that. I was just thinking about that this morning.
Yeah, we're big walkers, so we'll walk the subdivision, and my wife is nosy. There's a lot of buildings still going on, so she likes to peek inside and see what folks are doing. But being outside, I feel like, has to be a part of it. The other one for me, I love cooking, and this is, winter, I'm making hearty meals, but in the summer, get on the Blackstone. Been deep frying lately, which probably isn't good for the waistline, but I take the fryer out there, do that deal, get on the grill, but like a nice beer and the Blackstone, I'm good.
It's funny how I think it's because we come out of, and we're so starved for good weather in Ohio that we will make weather that otherwise isn't great.
Yes.
We will make it great.
Yes.
Like if it's 61 and a little breezy, but it's sunny,
Doesn't
to
matter.
us it's 77. Let's go.
Yep.
Like it's San Diego. Let's go. It's crazy because we're just starved for anything.
I'm with you, JP. I love being outside on the grill. And although I have retired, I always used to love it when the weather broke and that meant it was softball season, going out there and playing with the fellas and having a couple cold pops.
Dude,
that was a great time.
I would like a HBO series on your beer league softball days.
We had some good times.
Because I'm guessing you were a damn good beer league softball player.
Well, I was definitely good at the beer. I was definitely good at the beer part.
I bet you hit bombs. I bet you I can see you. Yeah, I feel you'd thrive.
Great times. Great times.
Why not? You still got some good years left in you.
Come on. I'm old, fat, and bald now.
You can't get back out there? We all are. What's the problem?
I can coach third base, pinch hit every now and then. This one from Dustin. Hey, guys, if you are the UFL, why not just have teams in prominent college football towns with only those teams' former players, i.e. Columbus, just former Buckeyes, Baton Rouge, former LSU players, etc.?
Well, because there's not enough players to fill out rosters doing that, even at a place like Ohio State, where there's enough former players to only play for the – it just isn't. You need – how many people are on their rosters? They got to have 50?
Probably 40? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, 45, 50. There just aren't 45 or 50 former Buckeyes who aren't in the NFL. that could fill those rosters. And then the other problem with your plan is there aren't enough markets that would be able to support that. Like Tuscaloosa could not support the UFL. Yeah, you could put them in Birmingham. Baton Rouge is a good example. Austin, I suppose, would be a good example. Oklahoma City, there's a handful. But for a lot of them, there just isn't enough population to be able to support it, I don't think. I still think that they're inevitably, for it to truly be a success, they need a partnership with the NFL. So that the NFL can put their practice squad players. So in other words, the Columbus team is the incubator team for the Bengals and the Browns. And they put all of their practice squad players there to be able to play. That, to me, is their best avenue for long-term sustainable success.
I agree with that. Kind of becoming a farm system there,
yes.
and being able to. The hardest part about football is the only way, in my opinion, to really get better is by playing the game. There's just not that many opportunities to play and practice. And so this idea of becoming a feeder for NFL franchises makes a lot of sense. I'd like to see a little bit more college connection. They've tried to pull it off. Certainly, Teddy Ginn Jr. being the coach of the Columbus team, that makes a lot of sense. But to your point, it's just once I was done, right? I'm moving on to other things, and I think some guys are just kind of in that place.
I think the problem too, and this goes back to not enough guys to field the team, but guys at Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, they're in the league.
Yeah.
Right.
They're in the NFL, so it would be definitely very hard there. This one from Cardinal. Hey, guys, speaking of quarterback draft busts, what percentage do you place the blame on coach and system and percentage on the player themselves?
I think it's 50-50 situation versus player. I think it's equal. Some people might find that surprising. I think it takes a truly special player to transcend a bad situation at quarterback. I just don't. There aren't many examples where it's happened, where a guy just has lifted everything without being in a support system. And I think the best example, that if you're looking for an example of this, we just had it in Chicago. They drafted Justin Fields in the first round, and they had no mechanism around him for success. They didn't have a coaching staff in position for success. Now, all of a sudden, they draft Caleb Williams a couple years later. Weapons. Offensive line, brilliant coach. Do I know if Justin Fields could have been Caleb Williams? No, I don't know if he could have or not, but he also didn't get a chance. And that's one franchise, two quarterbacks in a couple of years separated, where you see a stark example of this is what happens when you don't have the right circumstances, and here's what happens when you do. And quite honestly, they probably waited a year too long on doing the coaching change for Caleb. He should have probably walked in with Ben Johnson right away.
I tend to agree with that. I mean, you look at Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones types out there as well, where they've got to bounce around a little bit to find a fit in a scheme where they can be successful. I would say it's more 70-30 on the situation being the 70 and the 30 being the player. And part of this, too, is the way that collegiate quarterbacks are developed, I don't think puts them in a great spot to walk into the league and become successful, because the games are so different and the hashes are different, and what they ask quarterbacks to do and how they process terminology, even cadence. And it's funny watching Gruden when he does his little quarterback thing now, because his favorite thing to do these days is, what was your cadence in college? And all the guys walk up there with their hands up and they clap. And he's like, what the hell is that? Do you actually know how to do a hard count if we asked you to do it on a third and short situation? So there's a lot of it, but there are very few players that can be successful independent of scheme and situation, and I think it's more exacerbated when it comes to quarterbacks.
So you've made me kind of hesitate on this a little, JP, because you played. I've always thought it's 75-25 on the player, because I think if you're not a bust, you get more chances, and then you show that you're better. Like you mentioned, Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones and Mac Jones. They've gone to other places and they've shown signs of life. Justin Fields has been 4 different places.
He hasn't been with a quarterback whisperer, though.
And
he's been with some defensive coaches who couldn't help him.
And I get that. I understand it. I just have always thought if you're going to make it, you're going to make it regardless.
I feel that.
I would love to have seen. I'm trying to think of the spot I would love. I mean, honestly, go back to the draft. I would love to have seen Justin drafted by the 49ers.
Yeah.
And that's where everyone thought he was going.
Yeah. I would love to have seen. I remember doing the show with threes at the time. We're like, not Chicago, good God. Any place but there. And then that's the way that it worked out. The NFL draft is a week from tomorrow. Dalton Wasserman's got his eyes and hands all over it. He will join us coming up in 2 minutes. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
James Laurinaitis here for my guys at Green & Sons, the premier Kubota dealership in Central Ohio. Green & Sons has all the Kubotas you need to tackle your land and come out a winner. They have zero-turns, skid steers, tractors from 18 to 171 horsepower, and also utility vehicles. My favorite is my RTV Sidekick. The best thing about Green & Sons is they've been family-owned and operated since 1970, and you will love dealing with the Green family and their winning team. Do what I did and check out Green & Sons located in Mount Sterling and Marysville or online at greenandsons.com for all your Kubota needs.
Whether you love or hate winter, I think we can all agree we need some spring color to brighten up our lives after this winter. For 86 years, spring color starts at Oakland Nursery. Blooming shrubs, fragrant lilacs, hydrangeas, azaleas, and rhododendrons. And don't forget Central Ohio's largest selection of beautiful roses with thousands to choose from. Hey, we've all earned it this year and are entitled to an explosion of vivacious spring color. If you haven't been to Oakland Nursery, you simply haven't been to a nursery.
Hey, what's up? It's T-Bone. Now is the time to call Comer & Cross and transform your garage with a gleaming new Comer & Cross garage floor. Maybe your garage floor has exposed concrete with stains and cracks or a bad epoxy or paint job. Well, a new Comer & Cross garage floor will transform your entire garage in just one day. Now, here's the great part of this whole story. If you call them right now, they're going to take 50% off installation. Yeah, that's right, 50% off installation from Comer & Cross when you call them today at 1-800-NEW-FLOOR. A Comer & Cross garage floor is the gold standard, guaranteed to never chip, crack, or show tire lift like epoxy or paint ever. Plus, they make it easy. They'll take your stuff out of the garage for you. They'll fix your cracks and pits perfectly like it's a new garage floor, and then they'll apply the proprietary finish that you pick. Yeah, I said it. They'll fix your cracks and pits. What's wrong with that? That's what you want. So call them today at 1-800-NEW-FLOOR to get 50% off installation. That's 1-800-NEW-FLOOR. Or go to comercross.com.
The Fan Poll is sponsored by JT's Pizza and Pub, home of award-winning pizza and 32-ounce Yingling drafts for only $4. They've all been paid by the Cleveland Browns. This is Bishop and Friends.
Indeed it is. Joshua Perry in with me today. Bake here as well. Time to head out on the Bryant Heating Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. Conversation with our old buddy Dalton Wasserman, host of the Preferred Walk-On College Football Show, and he joins us there. Dalton, a week and a day from the NFL Draft. From your perspective, and you hear this a lot. Last year, I think a lot of people thought there were 5 can't-miss blue-chip guys at the top of that draft. How many do you have in this year's draft that you would sleep well at night going, I'm taking that guy at number 3, number 4, and I'm doing just fine. I'll see you tomorrow?
It's probably only maybe 5 or 6 at the very top, right? And the funny thing about it is that they're not at the traditional premium positions, right? You think about Caleb Downs at safety, who I think is the best player in the draft, but how high, do these teams take as safety? We've seen it in the past with guys like Derwin James and Kyle Hamilton, where they drop into the teams and people don't feel like, okay, at the time when they're drafted, that's where the value's at, and then they go on to become elite players. So Caleb Downs, I think Jeremiah Love is in that elite class of running back prospect that we've seen in the last decade. Sonny Styles is in there for me. I think you could consider Fernando Mendoza in there, maybe a little behind those guys, but being that he's clearly the best quarterback to me in this draft, I think it makes all the sense in the world that he's going first overall. And then, you look at a guy like Arvell Reese and go, okay, maybe the position is a little bit of a question, but to me as a linebacker, he's pretty darn close behind Styles. So that's the group that I would start with, maybe a couple more from there after that, but that's certainly a top 5 that I think is pretty good to look at first.
Well, Dalton, you mentioned 3 Buckeyes in there, so that makes the audience very happy around here. We know how talented that triumvirate was. Each one of them, Caleb, Sonny, Arvell, how would you think that they are best employed in the National Football League? In other words, how would you use them and where would they be at their best?
So, Caleb, to me, he can do the big thing with him. He can do anything. I know he's been projected a lot in this box nickel kind of role because that's where he played, but I think he's got enough of the football IQ. Maybe he doesn't run the 4-3 like a guy like Dylan Thieneman to run single high all the time, but he makes up for everything that he lacks in maybe physical traits with his football IQ. I think he's probably the smartest football player in this draft, and his vision gets him where he needs to be earlier than basically any other safety in the country. So, to me, Caleb Downs is a guy you can use anywhere in your defense as needed. Sonny Styles is just, as traditional a freak athlete at linebacker as you could get, and he's, him and Arvell Reese are built both still so young, right? A little bit less of a hybrid than Reese is when it comes to being on the line of scrimmage, but Styles is so good in coverage as a former safety that you look at him. I know the comp a lot that, that's been thrown out there is Fred Warner, but that level of speed and athleticism and the ability to play all three downs at linebacker is going to be huge for him. And then Reese, to me, I would use him right around, say, 80% of the time as an off-ball linebacker. I think he's still early in his development, but he could be a top 5 linebacker in the league one day. And then he's one where it's more like, say, a Zach Bond for Philadelphia, where if you want to drop him down onto the line of scrimmage in certain fronts, I think he's more developed as a run defender off the edge right now than he is as a pass rusher. So I think the pass rush you have to work on, but to me, I would play him 80% at linebacker.
Dalton, you just went through some of the blue chip guys in this class, but are there some guys, and Ruben Bain would be an example. People have talked about the arm length, or, a Casey Concepcion with some of the drops that he's had, but who are some prospects that people are high on that you maybe have a little bit more pause with?
I would say the first name that jumps out to me that's probably going to go top, in the first round or top 20 even, Keldrick Falk. I'm a little worried about that, and I wasn't a huge fan of, say, guys like Mykel Williams and Shamar Stewart last year. Yes, they have all the tools in the world, right, and they're probably going to be good run defenders. Keldrick Falk is probably going to be a good run defender in the league, but he's kind of a tweener when it comes to a true defensive end or that old school 3-4 defensive end playing over the tackle, and I don't see right now where the pass rush arsenal is and the ability as a pass rusher is to really affect the game on a consistent basis. To me, if you're taking an edge rusher in the top 20, they have to have some sort of at least above average pass rush ability. If he's just going to be a tweener run defender, that feels more like a late first or maybe even second round pick to me. So him, and the other one, which I think a lot of scouts have gotten in on now, is maybe, with some more caution, is Caleb Banks, the D tackle from Florida, right? You talk about the injuries. He only played 3 games this past year. The high end flashes are there, obviously, and maybe the best of anybody in this class, but the injuries and the inconsistency, and you just don't get to see that high end enough on a consistent basis. So those are 2 guys that stick out to me that I would see as more of second-round players.
Dalton, where does this draft start for you? Mendoza's going 1. It's going to be a defensive end at 2, probably maybe one at 3 too. Where are you saying, okay, now let's see where this thing goes?
I think it still starts at number 2 because of the difference you have between reportedly the two players the Jets are picking between, in David Bailey, who's a true classic rush outside linebacker, and Arvell Reese, who is kind of this hybrid who, if you believe he's more of an off-ball linebacker, then how do you go about it? I think he's a player that a lot of defensive coordinators, defensive coaches would see differently, right? So I think, the cascade of what would happen if the Jets were to take Bailey over Reese, then I look at the Cardinals and I go, the Cardinals desperately need linebacker help. If they want to do that, would they take Sonny Styles, who I think is a little more developed right now, or go Arvell Reese for the hybrid factor, right? I think it really does still start at 2 because, again, like you said, beyond Mendoza, we have no idea who the Jets are taking. And I think whether they take Reese or Bailey could have a huge effect on the rest of the top 10.
So, as we mentioned, Fernando Mendoza cemented top quarterback in the class, but there was that big argument that was going on about Ty Simpson. How big is the gap between those 2 guys? When you look at Ty Simpson, what is realistic for where he would be drafted next week?
To me, I think it borders on late first, early second round. I think like a team of interest to me would be the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21. I could see them doing it there. Then you talk about teams possibly, would they trade up, the Jets or the Cardinals? Would they trade up into the back end of the first round like you saw the Jackson Dart trade with the Giants last year? Would they wait till he drops to the second round, as we've seen in the past, say like Will Levis a few years ago? He was the first pick of the second round. So I think, to me, I wouldn't use a top 20 pick on him. I would like to see Simpson go to a place where he would ideally sit for most, if not all, of his first season. I think a place like the Steelers, if Aaron Rodgers were to come back and he could sit behind Rodgers for a year, that would make a lot of sense and develop under Rodgers and Mike McCarthy and all that. But it's hard to find many ideal spots for me right now for Simpson because I'm not that comfortable with the idea that he's a week 1 starter right now.
Talking to Dalton Wasserman, host of the Preferred Walk-On College Football Show. Dalton, for me, I think this is going to be kind of the algebra that the Browns are trying to figure out, or ought to be figuring out, provided that all of the receivers are available. Receiver or tackle at 6, and then the opposite at 24 if they don't trade out, and I think there's a decent chance that they do. But if they don't, is the gap bigger between 6 and 24 potentially at receiver, or is the gap bigger at tackle, if that makes sense?
I think it's bigger at receiver. I see a pretty clean line once you get through the top three receivers of Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, and Jordan Tyson in whatever order you have them. Then I think there's a little bit of a gap to the rest of the receivers when you talk about, to me, Denzel Boston, Omar Cooper, Casey Concepcion. There's a little more of a step down. I think a lot of these tackles are a lot of them are on the same plane, right? And I don't know that I'm comfortable with any of them going number 6, especially with the Browns. I don't want to say they're limited, but they are a bit limited. And who can they feel confident can play left tackle? And that's part of the problem with this offensive tackle class is there's not that many tried and true proven left tackles, right? You got Monroe Freeling, who's really off of one really good college season, and he's a freak athlete, sure. You've got Caden Proctor, who's got weight concerns, and then you talk about a guy like, say, a Caleb Lomu from Utah, who I think is much more likely to go 24 than he would be to go 6 or even in the top 12 to 15 overall. So the fact that they specifically need a left tackle in this situation kind of hurts their chances, and it means to me that if they're taking offensive tackle at 6, they take a little bit of a risk there. I would go receiver first and try to get one of those top 3 guys, whoever's their favorite, and then wait on tackle.
Who are some sleepers that you're looking at? Guys who are going to be taken later day 2 or on day 3 that you think can make an impact early?
I mean, I just look at the depth of the edge rusher position, especially if you need more help at that pass rusher. I mean, you look at mid to late day 2. I think about guys like Michigan's Derek Moore. I think about Texas Tech's Romello Height. And I mean, that entire Texas Tech D-line was so great this year, even getting into guys who might go in round 4 or 5, like Western Michigan, and Nadeem Tucker, right? I mean, if you need pass rush help off the edge, this really is your draft. And I wonder if that's going to drive the decision-making of teams, say, in the first round or the top 50 of, we can get a solid, rotational edge rusher later on in round 2, in round 3, in round 4, and we should take other positions of need because it's just in general a much more deeper defensive class, as far as the depth of it, getting into the mid rounds there than it is on the offensive side. But I do think that if you need additional pass rush help, you can wait into round 3 and 4 and still get good players.
Dalton, I'll get you out of here on this one. We talked a little bit about the Brown situation. On the other side of it, in the Bengals situation, if Downs doesn't slip, and if he does, obviously they would sprint to the podium for Downs. If he doesn't, and they want to go in the back end of that defense, who do you think they should target?
If I had to take a player, the next best one in the secondary to me would be Dylan Thieneman. I don't think the Browns, I've seen them mocked with a corner, say like a Mansour Delane a lot, but I feel good about them with Dax Hill and DJ Turner on the outside at corner. You can always stack depth, but I feel good about their corner situation right now. Dylan Thieneman would be an option, but I'll be honest with you, if you don't get one of the 5 premier defensive players, you're talking Bain, Bailey, Downs, Styles, or Reese. If all those guys were to go in the top 9, which is entirely possible, I would look to trade out of that 10th pick and then just add more depth and continue to build the middle of that defense.
Great stuff, buddy. Really enjoyed the conversation as always, and look forward to dialing into the Preferred Walk on College Football Show as well. Thanks for your time, pal.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys as always.
There he goes, Dalton Wasserman. Joshua, how does it sit with you that every single person that I talk to, this goes back to the Combine, it goes to Dalton just now, and we'll have draft experts on as we get closer next week. Every single one lists the 3 Buckeye defenders as 3 of the 5 or 6 sure things.
It feels about right.
That's something.
It also is like, damn, I wish we could have won this year, right? Like,
I know,
that's the one thing that sits in your mind. But those guys are special. They're all special players, for sure.
Yeah, there's this sense of like, my God, we're even better than we realized this year defensively. The last 3 months, I think, has probably proven that. I know we were, that statistically it was historical, all of those things. But my God, the talent was insane on that side of the ball. We get you officially endorsed in 3 things coming up next. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction or your money back. File in the Credit Karma app.
This Ohio State football spring practice report is brought to you locally on The Fan by Roosters and by your Ohio Kubota dealers.
Ohio State football spring practice report.
It's easy to see the big hole that needs to be filled with the loss of All-American safety Caleb Downs, something that safeties coach Matt Guerrieri and his group are working hard at.
Communication's been a huge stress of ours, right? So a stress point from me to the guys, I'm not saying in a bad way. Your main communicator was Caleb Downs, right? You guys saw, you couldn't even hear what he was saying, but you saw the directing of traffic and the way that it moved and things like that. So we're brutally honest with the guys. Here's the situation we had going forward. Here's how we look right now, right? If you walk in our defensive back room, right, Matt Patricia, the one who says this, communication is your job, is the way they would respond, right? That's their job. That's their livelihood, right? So if we have to communicate at a high level, we have to fill shoes of guys who have communicated, which we've done already this spring, but that's for sure an emphasis point. If I say, okay, what are the things we have to get better at from a safety room to be the best in the country, the communication starts.
This report brought to you by the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center and by Weber Grills on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
There's one medical team in Central Ohio skilled enough to care for your favorite Ohio State team, and Buckeyes everywhere. The Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center is your choice for the most highly specialized orthopedic and sports medicine care. Our surgeons, physicians, and physical therapists have access to the most advanced treatments and innovative recovery approaches to get you back in your game. Because on or off the field, our team is your team. The choice for your orthopedic care is clear.
Buckeye fans, game day just got hotter. Whether you're parked in the shoe lot or grilling at home, it's not a tailgate without Weber Grills Traveler Grill. Fires fast, folds flat, fits compact, and delivers championship flavor every time. Burgers, brats, steaks, even rival fans agree. Bring the taste of victory wherever you grill. The Weber Traveler Grill. Tailgate tough, Buckeye proud. Weber Grills. Taste the tradition. Proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint with their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind. It's a front row seat to the big game. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizzas, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen, and so big you won't believe it. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint, and the official wing sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Nobody has more all-wheel drive or electrified hybrid choices than Toyota. Like the all-new, all-hybrid Toyota RAV4. Now through May 4th, get 4.99 APR financing on a new 26 RAV4. Or lease a well-equipped RAV4 LE for just $299 a month for 36 months with $39.99 due at signing. With approved credit through TFS, tax, title, and license extra. Call 1-888-36-TOYOTA for details or go to toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Have you lost your energy? Not feeling it in the bedroom anymore? It could be your testosterone, even if you're a woman. Synergenics and Low T Center are offering free testosterone testing for both men and women. Stop by or book today at fixmylowt.com.
I'm Leslie from Pella Columbus.
And I'm Wilson from that other window place.
Wilson, we put new windows in a Dublin home last week. You wouldn't believe how much new light was let in. Changed the entire mood of the home.
You don't need fancy windows to change the mood of a room, Leslie. Know what else will do that? Wilson's Wicks, my new candle line. Here, smell this one.
Oh, that's bad.
I call it warm tuna salad. It's not for everyone.
Get the windows that can completely change the look and feel of your home at PellaColumbus.com.
It's never a bad time to fire up the grill. At Billiards Plus, the grilling season never ends. While you're grill shopping, you'll love browsing Central Ohio's largest selection of pool tables, game furniture, and shuffleboard. Family owned and operated. Billiards Plus on Dublin Center Drive in Dublin.
Bishop and Friends is sponsored by Diamond Seller, your true jeweler for almost 80 years. The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Sports conversation that's worthy of a toast, or at least a stiff drink. You're listening to Bishop and Friends.
Oh my God. Outkick just put up a video of Zach Bryan, the country star, from a TikTok account playing basketball. Holy smokes, the lack of coordination is stunning.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like he was really good or something.
No.
And that would not track for me.
Oh,
so.
my God.
You make me go on Outkick real quick.
Holy smokes. Oh, my God. It's bad. It's really incompetent.
Oh, Lord. These are the people that get on Twitter, by the way. Back when I was playing, they'd be in my mentions. Miss one tackle, have one wrong fit. And these are the guys telling me that I don't know how to play sports.
Tyvus wanted me to ask you what happened to your finger.
Oh, it was a football injury. I was going one direction. It got caught in somebody's jersey going the other direction. I went in. I asked them, is there anything wrong? They were like, nope, it's just sprained. And it never got better. So I had to have a couple surgeries. My knuckle is fused on the right pinky finger. So it's a little bit of a decoration from my playing days. How about that?
I like that. I hypothesized that maybe Maddie had enough of you and just bent it to prove a point.
There have been some of those days as well.
Some of those, yeah. What do you have in the poll today, Bake?
The Daily Fan Poll, sponsored by JT's Pizza and Pub. Do you think Rick Bowness will return as the Columbus Blue Jackets head coach next season? 71.7% of the people out there say yes.
I don't know. I kind of wonder, like, before yesterday, I would have said no. And I wonder if that struck a nerve with some folks. I don't know. Feels like a better chance now than yesterday for me, honestly. All right, time for It Is a First Friday. Hit it, Bake.
Bishop and Friends present First Friday. Officially endorsed because everyone deserves 2 Fridays.
You drink for the wrong reasons. My generation, we drink because it's good. Because it feels better than unbuttoning your collar. Because we deserve it. We drink because it's what men do.
All right, so just sent my pops back on the plane yesterday after a long weekend, and it was. And I'm considering doing a Did Bo's Dad Actually Say This segment? Because I actually took notes in my phone.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, I'm worried about some of the damage that could be done to my family members back home if this were somehow able to go viral, which I don't think anybody would want that. So I'm kind of trying to figure out a way to weigh it. But I have at least 5 or 6 things that he said out loud that are just utterly stupefying. All right, so in honor of him, though, I only drink this once a year, and it's when he comes. And his favorite beer is Miller High Life. He loves a Miller High Life. Now, I grew up on it. It was always the 2 beers that were always available were Coors Golden and Miller High Life. Those were the 2 that were always available. I still almost always have Coors around, but I rarely have High Life around. But I had a couple of them with him over the weekend, and they are still a delight. And for me, at least, a step back in time.
We mentioned playing softball earlier.
Yeah.
That was our softball beer. It was Miller High Life. So I remember, and it all started, I got this brand new, nice, big cooler.
Yeah.
And we went to get beer before the softball game, and you could get a 30-pack of High Life for like $13 then. So we grabbed 3 packs, threw it in there, because it was like a 90-can cooler. Threw them in there, and we had a time, and ever since High Life was our softball beer.
Very distinct beer. Like, you can tell that way more than
Absolutely.
some of the other. It has a definite flavor to it. All right, time for 3 things on a First Friday.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3 things.
Sponsored by Newman Roofing. For all your roofing, gutter, or siding needs, call Newman Roofing today at 614-NEW-ROOF or visit online at newmanroofing.com.
Number 1, speaking of my dad, here's evidence number 1.6 million that he's a psychopath. So I said, Dad, here, take some headphones. This plane you're going to have to Denver, it's going to have TVs. You can watch a movie, watch a TV show. No, what do I want to do that for? I don't know. It helped the time pass. I said, do you want a book? I got a bunch of old books I've read. Do you want to read something like that? A magazine, something I can give you with? No, I don't need to do any of that. I said, well, what are you going to do on the plane? He goes, I just close my eyes or stare straight forward. I go, God, for 3.5 hours? You're going to do that? Yeah. Okay. All right. Can you imagine sitting next to somebody who doesn't do anything and just sits there and stares for 3 hours and thinking they're not a murderer?
Bo, I got to tell you, that was actually a trend on social media for a while. They called it raw dogging the flight.
Holy hell.
No music, no video, no book, nothing. And you just sit and stare.
Wow.
Yep. So he's the originator of the trend. All right, my first thing is going to be a little bit of a story here. Bo, you heard Tyvis talking about child rearing. So yesterday, gave my son a popsicle. He enjoyed it. He wanted another one. No was the answer to the second one. So 30 minutes, he's in a meltdown. And so then my wife comes down the stairs, and she was like, oh, was Daddy being mean to you?
No.
And hold on. James goes, he just turned 2, by the way. He goes, that's not my daddy. She said, what? And he's like, not my dad. She said, who is that? He goes, Joshua. Awesome. Then he goes, I want a brand new dad. I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
And he's 2?
He's 2.
Oh, buddy.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Oh, buddy.
You are in for it.
I'm in for it.
One thing we know for certain with the Blue Jackets next year, that is going to change is going to be the voice you hear in the arena. That's because Greg Murray, last game as a PA announcer, was last night. They did a very nice tribute to him during the game, presenting him a jersey with the 25 on it for the 25 years he's been there. And then after the game ended, he sent everybody home with a very nice message. He said he's going to be in the crowd a lot next year as a member of the fifth line. I want to say he was on T-Bone and Tyvis a couple weeks ago when he did his 1,000th game.
Yeah.
He has been the voice for every Blue Jackets game but 2, I think he said, because they wanted him to learn from somebody who had done it before for those first couple of games. Just Jackets on the power play is not going to be the same ever again.
No, that's great. Great job out of that. Probably only time for 2. Make this one brief. An update, Bootsy, on the concussion. We're in day 3 of concussion protocol for him. We're trying to get back to our back-to-play stage, so that's where we are on that. If you're curious, both of his brothers think it's all nonsense and that he's being Ferris Bueller. They don't buy it at all.
Pretty good out of the brothers. All right, my second thing, had a great time the past couple days with you guys. Always fun to be able to hop on the airwaves with you two.
Great stuff, buddy.
I want to read these comments. They're a little too satisfied and too comfortable where they're at. It wasn't really a fit for me anymore, but here it doesn't matter if we're winning or losing. We're always trying our best. That's what I felt about it. When pressed by reporters to clarify if he was referring to Blue Jackets teammates or club management, I'll leave that for everybody's imagination. But there were certainly people like that who were a little too comfortable and fine with losing and just doing the same thing year after year. I'm going to leave that up for discussion for everybody else. Those comments left all of us in a uproar when Patrick Laine said them when he returned to Columbus for the first time, and they're pretty much what Rick Bowness said last night.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I'm guessing AR and Maddie and Cole have a lot to say about that, and they're coming up next. Enjoy your first Friday. Act accordingly. Bishop and Friends right here on The Fan.
We've been your Jackets flagship station since day one. All the goals, all the action, all the memories. Your home for the Columbus Blue Jackets, The Fan, Ohio sports destination.